Welcome to Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio, live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios, exit 17 on the Parkway, BMWAtlanticCity.com. First half is brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountant. Make them yours, GibsonMayer.com. It's me, Chucks, and it's a bit of an empty couch. Feeling a little bit lonely, but at least I got Mr. Brodo.
At least you got
Ryan
me,
Brodo.
right?
I got you on the ones and twos still. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
Glad not everyone bailed on me today.
No, listen, man, I'm here for you. I can't leave you. I can't.
Yeah, because if you did, I would not know how to do what you do. So we would have no show. So thank God. But it's just us two today. But hey, we're still here. Show's gonna go on. Consider this me making up for the 2 weeks that I missed, back in May.
You're paying your dues.
Yeah, I'm paying my dues. So, the poll question presented by Scanzano Sports this week is, who is the best wide receiver in the NFL right now heading into the 2018 season? Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr., DeAndre Hopkins, or is there another name you want to throw out there? We continue our positional rankings this week, and we did quarterbacks 2 weeks ago. Was that 2 or 3 weeks ago? We had that break, right?
I believe technically it was 3 weeks ago, but it was two shows
ago. Yeah. And then last week we had running back talk, which was awesome.
Yes,
well, for me at least.
That's your forte.
But we're on to wide receivers. So, let me get into the Facebook chat, see what people are chiming in on. Rob Brinkman says DeAndre Hopkins does it with garbage QB play. David Rosca says hello. What's up, David?
Hello, David Rosca.
Mike Parker says disappointed in the Madden Wentz rating, but the Eagles as a team are head and shoulders above the rest. Let's go. That's true.
I was going to bring that up later in the show.
Yeah, we'll talk about later in the show
on that one.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure we have a bunch of them, but I am an avid Madden gamer. That is the one game, I don't play a lot of video games anymore.
Neither do
But that is the one game I will go to the midnight release at GameStop for. I'll pick it up, and I will spend hours just playing Madden. So, Mike Parker also says poll answer is AB. Rob Povia says will always be AB because Julio can't stay on the field. Ralph Delavecchio, Mr. Lakers fan over there.
Hello, Delavecchio.
T.O.,
how are you?
not even a question, bring him into Philly. And my reply to that is no.
My reply to that is, what are you thinking? He's 50. Can we calm down?
Greg Milakovic says, give me AB 84 and a reunion of T.O. and Ocho Cinco back in the NFL. Love them dudes. I love them when they were in their primes, and that year they had in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
That was that was entertaining to watch because you would never think those two personalities would click, but they did.
Over here on YouTube, and if you're just chiming in on YouTube, like you said, we're basically talking about wide receivers at the beginning of the show. Then we're going to go in more Eagles wide receivers, and then we're going to be reminiscing on the 2017 Eagles season. Maybe the last time we can, just because after Doug Pederson's comments saying that, it's now time to focus on the 2018
after
season.
Their rings,
so
after they got their rings,
So if you're just joining us, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, you can still chime in on that as well as anything you have on anything we're talking about. So we have David Rosca chiming in over on Facebook and on YouTube, double dipping.
Double dip.
He says, I am ready for the NBA and NHL draft, baby. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, the NBA draft is this Thursday, right?
It snuck up on me. I didn't even realize.
Well, that's what happens when, teams in Philadelphia are relevant to where we don't have to be like, oh, my God, countdown to the draft.
Yeah, I know. We're waiting since, all the way back in, May? May, April, whatever. But, yeah, it's sneaking up. It's going to be exciting.
TTB Ballin says, yo, what's going on,
Yo,
TTP? Foolish Demon also chimes in. He says, AB and then Julio as well. So he's got 2. So yeah, that's how we've started over here on YouTube. So, Chucks, I know you have a top 4 listed in the poll question, and then you have a top 10.
Yeah.
So how about you go over that, break it down for the audience?
Okay, so for me, you guys know each week now I've gone next level and I've ranked the top 10 at each position. Because I can't just go half-assed. I can't just do 4.
No,
so
you gotta go. You have to go.
I gotta go all out. I gotta go in depth. So, I have him ranked as Antonio Brown and as number 1. And I've had Antonio Brown as the best wide receiver in the league for years, even before the AB hype train came along. I forget what year it was, but I saw this guy and I knew this guy was unbelievable. And to me, until that, in my opinion, because as someone with his height at 5'10" and can do the things he can do. Now you're talking about someone who's limited in terms of long speed. He doesn't have the biggest top end speed. He's not going to burn you like a Deshaun Jackson or Tyreek Hill, but he does everything else amazingly well. You're talking about the best route runner in the league, hands down. He will get open against anyone. He when he's matched up against Jalen Ramsey, as you saw in the playoffs, he still beat Jalen Ramsey left and right.
Well, that's the one thing I was going to say as well. It's that I'll use the main example from the last game we saw of him, really, and for the most part, I mean the Steelers. It's not a debate. I mean, that game was extremely disappointing. It kind of just hit them out of nowhere. They were not expected to lose that game, and a lot of it had to do with as far as the potential and the performance of Antonio Brown had to do with Big Ben, obviously, because he's throwing the football, but just the way Antonio Brown can take over games. And I'll just point back to in the middle of the season. I mean, seemed like the theme of this Steelers team this past season was the way they came back, into games and ended up winning. And they did that by using Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, I could argue that if you do not have him on the field, you don't win any of those games. So I think the wide receiver position, especially compared to, quarterbacks and offensive line play and defensive line play, they really don't make or break your team. But Antonio Brown, he does.
Yeah.
And this is no disrespect to Julio Jones, no disrespect to Odell Beckham or DeAndre Hopkins. But Antonio Brown, for a wide receiver position, I can't name another guy that affects the offense as much as he does. I'm not saying it's not close, but the way he can just take over games single-handedly, it's out of this world.
It's crazy. And again, like I say, at 5'10", he's not someone who won't go up and get it either. He has great ball skills. He will go up and catch one-handed balls. He knows how to go up and get it, how to attack the ball in the air. Again, I said route running is great. He's just all around as good as it gets right now. And that's why I've had him at number 1 for years, and it's going to stay that way. After that, I have Julio. And I know that there are detractors in terms of his ability to stay healthy, and there are people going to say that his numbers aren't as up there. However, I think that he could have much better numbers. I'm going to argue he should have much better numbers. But the thing is, last season, their offensive coordinator just does not know how to scheme up that offense. After they lost Kyle Shanahan, that offense a lot of the year they struggled because they didn't have an identity. They didn't know how to get the ball to Julio. So I think that I don't put that on Julio. I put that on the offensive coordinator not knowing how to get Julio the ball and manufacture him touches. And Steve Sarkisian, who's the offensive coordinator, he has stated that they don't want to force it to Julio in the red zone because they obviously don't want to force interceptions. They want to spread it around. I understand that you never want to force throws to double coverage or where the pass isn't there, obviously. But when you have an elite talent like Julio Jones, who's 6'3", 6'4", and is just unbelievable, you have to find ways to have the offense go through him. Much like what you said about Antonio Brown, you have to find a way to manufacture him targets because you need the ball in your best player's hand. And so, to me, he has his injury history, but to me, it's really tough not looking at his talent and being like, wow, that's crazy, because the physical tools he has at his size is unbelievable. That's why I have him at 2. And it's really like a crapshoot, much like we did last week with the 3 running backs. With the top 3 wide receivers, I think it is tough. I think you can make an argument for Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, or Odell, and you could have a good argument that I can't really blame you for. But to me, I have it that way. Odell to me has to learn how to. He has all the talent in the world to be the best wide receiver. The thing that holds him back is maturity, and I'm being straight honest because this guy. I know there are a lot of Eagles fans that are going to be like, I would never want Odell on my team, but honestly, I can't hate. If I had an opportunity to get Odell Beckham Jr. as a free agent somehow, I would be all for it because you're talking about a generational talent. So if he ever learns how to grow up, he can be the best wide receiver in the league.
Could I make comparisons? Because I know we talked about T.O. last week.
Yes.
And obviously earlier we talked about T.O., when Ralph was saying, like, oh, you got to sign him. You got to sign him now, 4-4-3. Could I make comparisons that Odell Beckham is kind of this generation's T.O.? Just because of the maturity?
Okay.
And I feel like he gets in his own way.
Okay. I think that's all, but at the same time, I think that's a little unfair to Odell in terms of T.O., when he was here and he was playing in his prime, he was literally the type of wide receiver or the type of player, teammate, who would literally not – it's proven fact, he causes drama for his team, not just for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like his team, he causes drama. And he will get into fights with coaches, with other players and everything. Odell, I think the immaturity is not so much that he'll butt heads with players or coaches. It's just the fact that he gets his emotions out of control. He doesn't know how to control his emotions to the point where he's lashing out on the sideline, getting into fights with kicking nets. And, he's when him and Josh Norman went at it, he can't control his emotions. He's going to get in the fights. It's not so much that he's trying to split up a team, but it's more so that he's not mature enough to keep a level head when he should know how to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I agree with you, and for the most part as well, just especially from teammates, I've heard people have said, Odell Beckham is like that on the field and, on the sideline because he wants success so much and he doesn't know how to control his emotions really.
Yeah.
The reason why I bring up T.O., and the more I think about it, it's not really fair to Odell because you're right. I mean, Odell has not been traded in numerous different places. I mean, I know Odell's still it's still the beginning of his career for the most part. I mean, it's not like he's been around for 10 years. So, I mean, obviously there was rumors 3 months ago that he was going to get traded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously that didn't happen. So, I guess my point is, for a guy that's so talented, I mean, I can make the argument that out of the top four, out of all wide receivers, he has the most talent. I could make that argument.
Yeah, you could. I agree with it, yeah.
The sad thing is, and it's not just coming from me. I mean, you hear past players say it, just sports people in general just saying for the fact that, dude, this kid needs to get out of his own way if he wants to end up being a legend because, unfortunately, his antics, whether it's, kicking over a net and then marrying the net or pissing on the sideline, acting like he's a dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just stupid stuff. And obviously him headbutting a wall after a playoff game. Certain things like that. Listen, he's a phenomenal player. But when you have those other storylines outside of it,
it's hard to,
like why if a quarterback and I feel bad for Eli and I'm not a big fan of Eli, but why is it that every time he goes to the podium, Eli Manning, why does he have to answer for his wide receiver?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm being a little too hard on Odell, but in all honesty, when you're a lock top 3 wide receiver in this league, or at least top 5, God, dude, you gotta recognize your own talent and grow up sometime.
And I even though he's a giant, the football fan in me wants to see him grow up and get that because he has so much talent, like you said. He really, really, really does. James Wilder says, I would put Julio at the top, but his injury history definitely factors in heavy, so Antonio Brown, King reigns supreme. Dion Brown says, what's up, fellas? I like that exact order. Thank you, Dion. Mike Parker says, Rob, I don't even play Madden anymore. Last one I had was Madden 15.
Who said that?
Mike Parker.
Oh, man.
Brigman says, the ratings are always whack. Parker comes back, says, Rob, nobody should be a 99. Rodgers is too high, but whatever. I'll stop talking about it since I don't play. Again, we'll talk about that. I got into a little debate with James Wilder and someone else on the group about Rodgers being a 99, but we'll get into that later. Dion Brown says, you can make a case for the wide receiver from LA Chargers. His name escapes me right now. Greg says, Keenan Allen, Dion. Yeah, Keenan Allen, and I'll say where I have him ranked, and it is pretty high. So we have to give
1. He had Hopkins 2.
okay.
Then he had Julio 3.
Okay.
So I just clarify that. David Roskis asked me, he said, what happened to Chromiak? He's at the Phillies?
He's at the Phillies Cardinals game because as you guys know, if you follow the show, my boy Chrome is a Cardinals fan. So he has people in town. His friends are over, and they went to the game last night, and they're going tonight too.
Oh,
So
marathon, very nice.
Double dipping. But I hope he's having fun. I'm sure he is.
Shout out to him.
Yeah,
Foolish Demon said the Odell Beckham Jr. story is as follows: blunts, babes, and bumps.
Oh God.
Very clever, Foolish
Demon.
Demon.
It's actually accurate though.
And then Foolish Demon says, I am still playing Madden 17, so he has not gotten 18.
Oh, not 18. Well, you're actually missing out because 18 actually was a step in the right direction for the franchise. But I digress. Parker says, baseball talk, so I'll leave that. Deion Brown says, I think Cooper Kupp at some point will be right outside top 10 soon enough. That's an interesting name. That's a very interesting name. Greg says, Deion, I love me some Cooper Kupp. Vespi says, holy hell, Chrome turned into a plush eagle. Yes, he did. These guys are keeping me company today. We got 2 eagles and the Philly Fanatic. Aren't you happy I know what that is?
Yeah. That's the Phillies mascot,
yes,
Charles.
That is the Phillies mascot. That I know. All right, so talk about Hopkins. Hopkins I have at 4. And Hopkins is another one that I have been high on since his rookie year. And it's kind of fitting because today I did see on Twitter one of the analysts that I follow, one of the scouts, he posted a video breakdown of Hopkins' game, and it's exactly what I've been saying for years. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't get enough credit, and he should, because even last year when he had a quote unquote down year, you got to look at the quarterbacks he's had. You're talking about like people like Ryan Fitzpatrick, Matt Schaub. He had Tom Savage at one point.
Brock
Osweiler. Like, come on. Like, his down year was when Brock Osweiler was throwing him the ball. And I'm sorry, like, no matter how good you are, you can be Jerry Rice, you can be Randy Moss. If Brock Osweiler is throwing you the ball, you're not going to get it half the time. DeAndre Hopkins, he might not be known for his yards after the catch ability, which is been his biggest knock, but he improved on that last year. And what he does, DeAndre Hopkins, talking about route running, he's improved astronomically each year that he's been in the league. And to me, when it comes at ball skills, there's no wide receiver better at ball skills than DeAndre Hopkins, besides maybe Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald, like maybe, because Larry Fitzgerald, he never drops a pass. So with him being past his prime, maybe I can definitely say it now, but he's the only one that comes to mind that could contest DeAndre Hopkins in terms of ball skills. To me, DeAndre Hopkins' ability to make the catch at the catch point at any angle with any hand is just unmatched in the league. He is the absolute best. And if the Odell Beckham Jr. catch that got so much hype because it was against the Cowboys on primetime, I'm going to tell all the listeners here, go on YouTube and look the year before for I forget what to exactly search. I'm sorry, it leaves my mind, but I forget who exactly he was playing. But it didn't get notoriety because there was a penalty on the play for what was it? There was some kind of penalty on the play, so the play was called back. But Hopkins literally went deep, and he had 2 defenders on him, and he made the same type of catch that Odell made, with one-handed reaching behind him. But instead of, Odell was, going toward the end zone and then reaching forward, DeAndre Hopkins was going across the field on a post and reached behind him across the way he was running. So against his momentum, DeAndre Hopkins is unreal, and I cement him at number 4. Like, to me, those 4, like, you can't touch them. To me, like, the top 3, you can make an argument, but there's no way DeAndre Hopkins can't be number 4. He has to be right after them, in my opinion. Like, I don't know
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I have Hopkins at 4, and then AJ Green. AJ Green, with how bad the Bengals have been, it's hard because he's also very talented. But I think that with AJ Green, we also have to realize that he's also an elite receiver, but I don't put him on, and I'm really trying not to put a slight on AJ Green because he has elite skill. I just don't think that he's on par with the other four
No.
at this point of his career, at least too. And part of me, I kind of hope and wish he was on a different team because he's wasting his years now in Cincinnati. He could do so much damage on a contending team, but it is what it is. But he is still an elite talent to me. 6 to 10. This is where it gets difficult because I didn't do much. I haven't scouted 6 to 10 a lot, some more than others, but I wish I could have more time to take in-depth look at them. So it was very tough for me to I was flip-flopping names a lot, for the past couple of days, trying to really figure out who I want where. But this is how my 6 to 10 goes. Number 6, I have Keenan Allen. 7, I have, and this is going to be big because a lot of people are going to say he doesn't have the numbers to back it up, and I can't really argue against that, but I'm someone who's been really high on this guy too because of his skills or his skill set, physical ability. I think Stephon Diggs is number 7 for me. Stephon Diggs at 7, and then his teammate Adam Thielen right after him at number 8. Number 9, I have Tyreek Hill. And then number 10, it was really close. It was really, really tough. But I had to go with Michael Thomas over Devontae Adams. And then number 12, the outlier, and probably one of the biggest fallers was Mike Evans. Mike Evans was someone who I had in the top 8 going into last year, but he kind of fell off a little bit. I was kind of disappointed in his play this past season. I kind of hope he rebounds, but right now he'd have to be the outlier at 12. But so 6 Keenan Allen, 7 Stephon Diggs, 8 Adam Thielen, 9 Tyreek Hill, and 10 Michael Thomas.
So who would you have? Who would you say? Because we talked about it last week with wide receivers. With running backs. Who would you say is the most overrated wide receiver? And then I'll ask the same for underrated.
In the league?
Yeah. And I'll ask the people at home as well. Who do you guys think is the most overrated wide receiver is?
I have to think. That's so tough. And what makes it even tougher is the fact that I look for different things out of a wide receiver than most people. I don't want to say most people, but when it comes to wide receivers, they look for, and you can say that for a lot of positions like running back. Different people have preferences to type of running back, but with wide receiver, I put a lot of emphasis on route running and an ability to get open. I don't put a lot of emphasis on size. A lot of people do. They love the big wide receiver, like your Alshon Jeffries, your Julio Joneses of the world. They have size, so they're a big target, and I get it. But to me, the ability to get open is the most important ability, right next to hands, to be able to catch the ball. You have to be able to catch the ball, obviously, but I prioritize route running a lot more than I do size. To be honest, I think in terms of overrated, I would have to go probably Kelvin Benjamin. On the where's he now? He's on the Bills, right?
Yeah, on the Bills.
He got traded to the Bills. Yeah, Kelvin Benjamin to me is overrated. I think that a lot of people see him as maybe. I don't think he's that good. I think he is what he is. He's a big target, who has good ball skills and is a good red zone target. But I don't think he's got the movement skills in terms of route running. I don't think he's honed enough in that area of his game. I don't think he has enough speed. And I don't think that last year he came in really out of shape, and you could tell. So, when he got traded from the Panthers last year, a lot of people were saying that was an improvement for them because now they didn't need to force feed him the ball.
I was going to say, because it seemed like Cam Newton was obviously not happy when that happened. And people were saying that's going to be good not only for the offense but for Cam Newton because he was too reliant on Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah.
And obviously with them, especially now after this draft where they're trying to add more variety with their catching options, because they got didn't they get DJ Moore? They drafted DJ Moore, correct?
Yes,
the
they
Panthers.
did.
They have McCaffrey,
really
who I think we both at least I view him more as a wide receiver option than a running back option for the most part.
Yes.
So with those two, and obviously they have others. They have, I believe they still have Devin Funchess as well.
Yes.
So
do.
with those three, and obviously I'm sure they have a few others that I'm not naming as well, that's good because Cam Newton needs more variety. And I think because, listen, the strength of Kelvin Benjamin's game is his size, obviously. I mean, that's not a hot take by any means. But other than that, you can't be relying on someone that, in my opinion, is just a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
So I do agree. I mean, I remember especially the year the Panthers did very, very well. They went far.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Kelvin Benjamin like he was like some like top 5 wide receiver.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, no, like, listen.
He had a good
Yeah.
He had a good rookie year.
Yes.
He had a good rookie year, but ever since then he kind of fell off a little bit.
Now, who would you say is the most underrated?
I'm going to have to say the guy that is the surpriser on my list, and it's Stephon Diggs. And
Sure.
I think Adam Thielen, too. I've been high on these two pairings for the past 2 years. To me, the Vikings, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, too, but to me, the Vikings have the best wide receiver group in the league, and it starts with them, too. When you have two wide receivers who are, in my opinion, in the top 10, like, that automatically gets you far. It boosts you up in my list.
So for over on YouTube, Foolish Demon says for his overrated, he says Jarvis Landry. And then he says 100-plus catches under 1,000 yards doesn't do it for me.
Good one. That's a good one. He is overrated. I think in terms of he gets overrated because I think of fantasy football, especially if you're in a PPR league, which I do. So I get it. Like he's a PPR monster because he catches all those short passes, and he is an absolute freak at yards after catch. I don't think there's anyone better at yards after catch. Maybe besides talking about Golden Tate. Golden Tate might be the only other one who's better yards after catch. But Jarvis Landry has that innate ability to take any short pass to the house. So I get it. But in terms of wide receiver skills, he's someone that I liked, but then I started to get lower on him the more I saw his game, because he's limited in what he can do. He doesn't know how to do the intermediate to deep route tree. So he can't. He's literally when you're playing with Jarvis Landry, he is the only slot. You can't move him to the outside, and you can't expect him to do all the intermediate and deep routes. He's not going to go deep. He doesn't have the route running skills and ball awareness, body awareness to take in those type of plays.
Now, would it be fair to call Tyreek Hill underrated?
It's tough because, see, I have him at like number 9, and depending on who you talk to, people like Tyreek Hill a lot because, to me, after his rookie season 2 years ago, he needed to show that he could be more than just a deep ball threat, and this past season he did. Like he is more than just a deep ball guy. But that's what's scary is if you don't respect his deep speed, like if you try to play the intermediate or short routes, he will burn you. Like, he will absolutely burn you. You're talking about, like, he's making big plays, kind of like Deshaun Jackson early in his career. Like, it's unreal. You're seeing this guy run away from every corner and safety in the league.
And I know this doesn't – I mean, I know we're trying to stick with just, like, wide receiver, as they play as a wide receiver. But as far as an offensive threat, Tyreek Hill, because he also returns kicks, he returns punts.
Yes.
Extremely dangerous. I mean, I had him on fantasy, and he was like my favorite player for the most part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's absolutely. I think he's underrated for me. I don't even know if I should say Alshon Jeffrey. I don't know, because obviously he had a big year, and of course I'm gonna say of course he should be highly ranked because I'm an Eagles fan. He did a lot for us last year. I don't know because overall in his career, I mean, he's had the suspension, he's had the injury. I know he had to deal with Jay Cutler for the most part, and he did have, I think he had, 1 or 2 really good seasons over there in Chicago?
1,000-yard seasons, yeah.
So,
from what I remember.
Where would you have him ranked?
I would probably have him top 20.
Okay.
I think he is underrated because he doesn't get the numbers. Especially this past season, he didn't get the numbers. He didn't reach 1,000 yards, but that's because of the way the offense is.
Yeah, the offense isn't built.
As we know now, he was hurt the whole season.
Yeah.
I think that Alshon Jeffrey is someone who impressed me in terms of being able to. He's not the best route runner. He is not the fastest guy. We all know that. But at the same time, for someone who is big like him, he's not a Kelvin Benjamin like I just talked about. He can still, whenever you need, if you need that intermediate or short route, if you need him to run a 10-yard curl or a 10-yard dig, like he'll do it. If you need him to run a slant, he'll do it. And we've seen it over and over again. His effectiveness and ability to run those routes in this offense. Our offense is predicated on the RPO, and on the RPO, the common routes for the wide receiver is the slant or an in or an out, because those are the quick hitters. And Alshon showed he can do that. Him, Zach Ertz, they all show the penchant to be able to do that. So I think he doesn't get the national attention anymore because he hasn't had the numbers. But after the season, when we've seen his ability and what he could do as like one of the top weapons for Carson Wentz, I think he's a top 20 talent.
So Foolish Demon chimed in with a few names. He actually retracted the one, which it was about Aguilar. He said he'll be a homer, and he said, he'll say Nelson Aguilar is underrated. And then he went into his route running and obviously in the open field. Foolish Demon, I think we should put that back in there, because he said scratch that, underrated is Marvin Jones, and he said Doug Baldwin as well. And I think those are two interesting names. But Aguilar, listen, I got to be careful, because it took 2 seasons for Nelson to prove he's anything in the NFL, and I understand he only had one very good season. I could argue one above average season. Like, he had a great season last year, but that's the first time he was anywhere close to anything, because the first 2 years, his second year, he was benched for not knowing how to catch a football.
Atrocious.
So I don't know if I'm ready to say he's underrated. Now, if he does the same thing next year and he's not really talked about, then sure, absolutely. If we want to go by potential, I definitely think he's underrated. But as far as what he's done so far in the league, I can't put him there yet.
Okay.
But out of Doug Baldwin and Marvin Jones, out of those two, who would you say is the more underrated of the two?
More underrated of the two, I'd say underrated is Marvin Jones, but the better one is clearly Doug
Baldwin.
Doug Baldwin. I think Doug Baldwin is finally getting the notoriety he deserves. That's the only reason why I say it.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to your Aguilar point, I'm wearing his shirt today for a reason, guys. I have been high on this guy since his rookie year, since we drafted him, and I say on here all the time, I talk about my favorite Eagles players, and everyone knows right now, J.I. Jai is my guy, but I'm telling you, Aguilar is right there with him. He's also my co-favorite Eagle right now, because this guy, what he's been able to do, considering his first 2 years in the league, you have to have so much respect for him. And the fact that he came in, I wrote, last year, I wrote a post, a long, I guess you can say article or an entry on my blog, after a few weeks into the season, about Nelson Aguilar. And I documented his struggles as a rookie, how the minute he was drafted, he was expected by everyone to be Jeremy Macklin's replacement. Mm-hmm. Everyone expected him to be Macklin's replacement because of the match with his physical dimensions. He was the same size, same weight, same skill set. So we let Macklin go to Kansas City. So we draft Nelson Aguilar and okay, plug and play. He had a lot of expectations on him.
I think you're absolutely correct, and also that was the same year that I was very much lobbying for Chip Kelly to sell the farm and move up to get Marcus Mariota.
Yes.
So I think in the moment, because I remember Tom, myself, a couple other guys here, in the station, we did a live draft special.
Okay.
I remember saying on air, God, whoever, because they didn't do anything, obviously. They stayed where they're at. They had the 21st pick, I believe.
Something like that, around there.
And I remember thinking, okay, whoever this is, it better be freaking good. Because the entire city arguably was disappointed that we didn't move up or anything, because at that point we were stuck with, we had just traded away Foles. That was when we got Sam Bradford. And the rumor was we're going to take Sam Bradford and we're going to trade him away in 2 seconds. That's what was expected to happen. Yep. So I hear this guy, Nelson Aguilar, and I had heard of him. He was out there, but I'm thinking, oh my God, we found a diamond in the rough, because at that point, the Chip Kelly era, it was where, oh my God, he's a genius. He can do no wrong.
Yep.
So we're thinking, oh my God, he's a star. He sucks. Next year, he sucks. He can't catch a ball. So we're like, all right, so cut him?
It's not that
Trade him?
It's not that he just sucked. He was atrocious.
He got benched because he can't do what wide receivers do.
He couldn't catch the ball.
And then third season, and listen, people say a lot of his progression had to do with Carson Wentz, Doug Pederson, the wide receiver coach. Maybe. But in my opinion, I think it has to do with him.
Yeah.
I think, and the biggest thing, I think it does have to do with Wentz. And I'm not saying that, he wasn't a hard worker before, and I'm not saying that at all. But I remember the interview I saw when we found out that what Carson Wentz was doing every morning. He was getting there extremely early.
Yeah.
And Nelson Aguilar said, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try and beat this guy. And it was just those two. And they started this whole culture.
Not to take anything from Wentz. Wentz got all the notoriety for that, and deservedly so.
Mm-hmm.
But Nelson Aguilar was also the guy right there with him.
Yep.
First in, first out.
So I think those two guys, and I feel honestly that he just took it as a refresh. Like, all right, the first two seasons, not what I wanted. He came in that third season, put his head down, and he was a focal point of this offense. He wasn't a complimentary piece. He was a focal point. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think the sky's the limit for this kid. I really love his game. I think he's an absolute danger in the open field.
Yes.
So he's an extremely, extremely exciting player to watch. And I'm dead wrong, because for the most part in that second season, I was saying cut him. Like, I'll own up to it. I know half the city was, probably more than half the city.
I'd say 90% of the city was.
Yeah. So, listen, we all whiffed on it. We were impatient, and I'm glad we still have him. I'm glad we didn't, jump the gun and be like, oh, we're done.
Exactly. And I think it's a good lesson for even us as fans that you can't bail too early on these young players, these rookies. Like, I've said it before, wide receivers used to be one of the positions that it took years to get these players acclimated to the league. It's one of the hardest positions to adjust. And, you have constant wide receivers from the past where the rookie year, they did nothing. Teams used to draft wide receivers, and it was just in a way an automatic redshirt year because they needed to learn everything. You can't expect anything from a first-year wide receiver. But the draft with Odell Beckham came where you had so many good rookie wide receivers, and all of that changed.
It changed
all
everything.
the expectations changed. And so the expectation for Nelson Aguilar was to be our rookie sensation at wide receiver. It didn't happen right away, but I'm telling you, he is one of my favorite Eagles right now, right there with Ajayi, because of his story and because he came back. He had the most receptions out of any player in the Super Bowl. And do you remember those big, huge receptions he had late? He had that one where he dropped a pass, and I know because Chrome would never let me stop hearing when he drops a pass. He dropped a pass. But as it has been all season long, and I noticed it early, right after a play where he drops a pass, they go right back to him, and lo and behold, they went right back to him in the slot. He hit it out route, spun, and I think who did he shake? He broke the tackle of someone and got a first down. And I think it was on a third down too, big third down, late in the quarter on that game. What would be the game-winning drive? After Foles hit Ertz on that fourth down conversion, I believe one of the next two conversions was Aguilar for a big gain right up the slot. And I think right before that too, he had a big first down on the boundary too. Aguilar he might not have had any touchdowns in the Super Bowl, but his catches were as big as any touchdown. He comes up clutch. He came up clutch numerous times in the season. Had big plays. He is our most electric weapon.
Absolutely.
Most electric weapon. And I really think, and you can call me Homer, but I've been saying it for months, I really think this guy has top slot wide receiver in the league potential.
Wow.
I think in a couple years, he can overtake someone like a Doug Baldwin or Golden Tate as the number one slot wide receiver. I think he has that kind of play. And he might not be the most physically talented. He's not the fastest, but he's got speed. He's not the quickest, but he does have quicks. Like, he is very good in all those physical attributes. But what makes him so good is the fact that, like, he hardly has a weakness. He's very well-rounded, and that includes ball skills. Like, he hardly dropped a pass this past season, and he made some really tough catches, really, really tough catches. So I love Aguilar's game.
So I'm going to run down some of these Facebook comments.
Yeah.
So we have Timothy Floria said Devontae Adams will be top 5. We got Dion Brown saying, I forgot about AJ. I want him to go to a team that had a playoff winning quarterback. Get the hell out of Cincinnati.
Yes, please.
He's damn good, but he gets lost in the sauce over there in Cincy. Yeah. What's the deal with what's his contract situation? Because I don't know if does he stay there so he gets paid top dollar, or like, AJ, get the hell out of there. Are you really trying to look at Andy Dalton for the rest of your career? Because in all honesty, and I don't want to call him this, but you're going to end up being irrelevant because I forget about you because you're on the Bengals.
Everyone forgets about him.
The only time you're relevant is when you get in a fight with somebody. Who did he get in a fight with last year?
That's
the last time I remember talking about him.
Jalen Ramsey.
Yes, that's the last time I remember saying. I think that's the last time I ever said AJ Green in a sentence.
Yeah.
Before today.
Yeah. And it's a shame because he is so talented. He's an elite talent.
Yes.
Yep.
Dion also says, he says, brother, I'm on board with your list, 100% facts. So he agrees with your list.
Awesome.
Greg agrees, says AJ is a monster, but he's just on a bad team. It's really a shame. Timothy Floria says Diggs, Sammy Watkins, overrated. I forgot about Sammy Watkins.
So he's saying Diggs is overrated?
He just put Diggs, and then below it he put Sammy Watkins overrated.
I'm guessing. I disagree with that. I can understand Sammy Watkins, but if you really look at Stephon Diggs, you can knock him for his durability. Like, that's been his hindrance, is his durability. He can't stay healthy, and I get it. So I don't knock anyone who says, "Oh, you got to stay healthy." I get it, but if you look at this guy's game, he is literally one of the most physically talented wide receivers. I think that he led the league. I forget what the exact stat was, but he led the league in contested catch percentage. Like, in terms of contested balls, he brought in the most, the highest percentage of any wide receiver in the league. His route running is among the top of the league. His ball skills are among the top of the league. He's got deep speed. And if it weren't for his injuries, he would have had a 1,000-yard season last year. He definitely would have. If you remember early last season, he had that 3-touchdown game on Monday Night Football with Sam Bradford. I believe if Sam Bradford never got hurt, which is kind of hard to say.
He wouldn't be Sam Bradford.
What I'm saying is, if Sam Bradford was there at least a longer time, they had such a good connection. Stephon Diggs, I believe, would have had 1,200, 1,300 yards.
Dion says Landry is a bit overrated. Good player, but somewhat overrated. Now he is in Cleveland. Let's see how that turns out. Well, Foolish Demon does not think that is going to pan out well at all. He says that Landry will not work out in Cleveland.
I don't think he is either.
I think, God, when he was signed there, or when he went to Cleveland, there was so much buzz around it. And maybe I'm thinking to myself, okay, good for Cleveland that they have another guy other than Josh Gordon. But it's like, it's Jarvis Landry. It's not Odell Beckham. You know what I mean? Like, and that's no disrespect to Jarvis Landry, because Dion's right. He's a good player.
Yes.
He's good.
Yes.
But other than that, God, let's calm down with Jarvis Landry. He's not going to he at least in my opinion, he's not going to be the savior as far as wide receivers in that city. It's going to be Josh Gordon. Like, let's remember now, Josh Gordon is the guy there as long as he behaves himself.
Yeah.
That's another guy.
Josh Gordon?
Underrated. And it's his fault.
That's the
obviously.
thing. If he is who he was before the suspensions, he is easily a top 5 wide receiver.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I have to see it first.
Yeah.
I can't. And
the
games that he had late in last season, I don't count that. He has to show me for a full season he is back to who he was.
That's fair.
Based on the picture, he's physically still the same guy. That those triceps.
Good Lord.
But he has to show me.
Let's see. Dion says, I don't think Alshon is overrated. No way. For the offense the Eagles run, he's right where he should be. He's still someone other teams have to keep an eye on. Oh, absolutely. And in the red zone, God, and we have to remember, like you said, Charles, he was hurt.
He was hurt. Yep.
And he was still a threat.
Yeah.
And he had to go through not one, but 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I remember late in the season we were talking about, they had to reset the chemistry with Foles and Alshon. We were saying because for the first couple games that was non-existent.
Yeah.
Doug Zeke, what's going on, Doug?
Dougie.
He says Antonio is number 1. For how much longer is the question? Young studs are coming, and then he says Odell, Hopkins, Hill.
Yep.
Greg Milakovic says, I love the fact that Antonio is training and learning things from Ocho Cinco. Seeing them go at it on Ocho's social media is must watch. I didn't actually know that. I'm going to have to check
I knew
that
that.
out.
I never watched it, but I knew about that, yeah.
Dion says, I think Matt Collins is being slept on. Maybe this upcoming season will have a lot more opportunity. Well, that's actually a great point. We're going to be releasing, I think it's later in the week, like a question. We're going to put up 4 different Eagles players, and we're going to ask, like, okay, who's primed for a breakout season this year? And for me, I think it's absolutely Matt Collins.
Okay.
I think he has the opportunity. I mean, we spent half the season last year. People were saying, oh, my God, he needs to be the replacement for Torrey Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, and now, with the addition, I mean, there were a lot of additions to the wide receiver core, which we'll touch on later, obviously. But listen, it's Matt Collins' opportunity. We got options just in case he does not pan out like he should. But he has all the potential in the world, and we only saw a slight peak of this of last season. When he was on the field, he was pretty good. Let's see. Doug asks on the Ocho Cinco Antonio Brown thing. He says, he race a horse yet, Greg?
Oh, yeah.
And then he said, Ocho will be justifying a race. Doug Zeke says, Aguilar was supposed to be like Macklin, not there yet.
I think right now we have to realize that their games are too different. They might, at first, like as a rookie, like I said, it was comparable, but Aguilar is a slot receiver. Macklin was an outside receiver. I believe Aguilar, when I'm comparing them in their primes, and it's tough to say because Aguilar is just reaching his prime. He's only had one good season, but Aguilar has more physical ability than Macklin ever did, in my opinion. And you're talking to someone whose favorite wide receiver, whose favorite Eagles wide receiver ever before Aguilar was Jeremy Macklin. So I loved Jeremy Macklin's game. I was heartbroken when he left, but their games, they're never going to be the same type of game. They're 2 different types of wide receivers.
Let's see what else we have. Greg, I think you're talking about the I don't know if you saw him at Aguilar or Antonio. He says, I'm just going to set it up then. That man deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know what he's talking about. He's talking about Ocho. Greg, you got to elaborate.
Yeah, I'm not
I don't
sure
know.
what he's talking about.
I hope he's not talking about Aguilar yet. I know we just talked
I
him
would
up.
love that, but
maybe the Eagles Hall of Fame for this year. Maybe if that's a thing, then sure, Greg, I agree with you. Chrome chimes in and says, hey, guys, just now getting service from the bank. Gotta go with Antonio Brown. Great job holding it down, Charles. # fire Matheny. And he says, have a great show. Thank you, Chrome. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Chrome.
Doug Zeke chimes in saying, Landry is a poor man's Golden Tate.
I wouldn't argue against that.
No,
I wouldn't argue against that.
So do you want to transition into, you want to do like a sneak peek for the next like 10 minutes of like the Eagles stuff,
peek.
and then we can finish that on the other side
we'll
as well?
continue it. So I wanted to talk about this Eagles wide receiver core for 2018. Our projections, what we think of them now, like what we expect from them. And then I guess in the second half, we'll get into where do we think they rank among wide receiver groups in the league compared to other ones. And the football nerd I am, I do have a ranking, a top 10 ranking of the top wide receiver cores in the league. So I will, I do have where I have them play, where I have the Eagles placed. But for right now, we'll talk about the Eagles, what the group right now and how we see them. I think that it's pretty easy to see that with most of them returning, but then the one that isn't, Torrey Smith, got replaced by Mike Wallace, who is a better wide receiver. You have Mac Hollins, who you just talked about, reaching his second year. We have other guys for depth, and I know I'm not saying they're going to contribute. I'm just saying like right now going into training camp, we signed guys for depth like a what's the guy from the Bears? He used to be a Steeler. I can't I can't remember his name.
Oh God. I'll check. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? The guy we signed. So we have depth now. I think it's an improvement. I think it's pretty easy to say that this group is an upgrade from last year's group. And that is saying a lot because last
Marcus
year's group...
Wheaton.
Marcus Wheaton. Thank you. So I like this group, and I'm very excited. I think that... And we're excluding tight ends because tight ends will be next week. I'm trying to just keep it strictly as wide receivers. But this wide receiver group, I think, doesn't get notoriety national... They don't get the national recognition that they should. And I think it's because none of them went over 1,000 yards. But again, that's just the nature of this offense. We spread the ball. So it's not about one individual wide receiver. It's about them as a collective unit. Like we saw Alshon Jeffrey be the star one week, and then the next week we saw Nelson Aguilar be the star wide receiver the following week. So it's not that we're ever going to have a true number one option for the wide receiver position, but it's the fact that they are all so good and they're all very reliable. And obviously, they were reliable enough to win us a Super Bowl and play big parts in that Super Bowl win. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a very underrated group. I think that transitioning going to this year, I think that Nelson Aguilar, I think he's going to have either just as good or a little bit better year than he had last year. Alshon might get off to a slow start because of the injury, but we'll see. What happened? What happened?
All right, so for the last 5 minutes, you want me because the YouTube fam have come alive. They've come alive. We have Sixers JT, TTB Ballin. We have Foolish Demon in here. Hollyway 15. We have a lot of them in here. So if you want, I can catch up with the YouTube comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I got to. So Sixers JT chimes in saying, "Draft this week. Who's hype?" And he put in all caps. So I know he's excited. I'm sure he is. Then he said, TTB Ballin says, "Ryan, why aren't you on screen? We all want to see your beautiful face." Listen, man, I love my little chair over here.
I got plenty of room.
Yeah, Charles needed all the room, all right? He doesn't get the opportunity to – I mean, he has all the room for all the activities over there. I didn't want to deprive him of it.
So many activities.
Yes. You'll see me tomorrow, TTP. I know that's why you tune in to see my face.
I should combine these into a bunk bed.
Listen, man. I mean, you have the opportunity. We're on the air for the next hour and 5 minutes. So.
Oh yeah, true.
Let's see. Beforehand, Foolish Team was talking about breakouts. He was saying breakout: Hollins, Gary, Mills, and Sidney Jones.
Gary.
They may just be my 4 options. Thank you, Foolish Team, and you did my work for me. Hollyway disagreed. He said, Nate Gary, I don't know about that. And then Foolish Demon said, Gary will be a great compliment, especially when Hicks goes down. We also need that third safety. Gary is the guy for me. I have a strange feeling he'll shine. I don't know if it's a strange feeling. I think it's a good feeling, to be completely honest with you.
I think it's a reasonable feeling based on what we've heard out of minicamp.
Let's see. Talking about Nelson Aguilar earlier. When Foolish Demon was talking about like maybe he was underrated, Foolish Demon said not just the hands. No, he said just not the hands. He can run routes well. He can separate. Just needed to tap into what he can do. Aguilar's skill set is underrated. Let's see. 6AT says, where is everyone today? Talking about your 2 co-hosts. Well, Chrome is at the Phillies game. And Paulie's he's working somewhere.
No,
he's on vacation.
He's on vacation. Right. He's up in San Diego.
Good for him. Gosh.
Yeah. I saw pictures. He's having fun.
Yeah.
He's having fun.
I saw the one thing. He was like, we've been up for since
4
a.m. and we're finally here. And I'm like, we all know the feeling because when we travel across country, it feels like it's forever to get there.
Oh, yeah.
6HC says, just move the table, Charles. Connect the 2, and you got a bet.
Yes.
Look at this teamwork. But when you guys come back from the break, there's going to be the whole set's going to be flipped.
Different.
We're going to be outside. The walls are going to be gone.
Are they still
Tom's going to come to the studio tomorrow. He's going to be like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
I'm going to get a call at 3 a.m. What just happened?
And I'm going to be like, this is what happens when you leave me by myself.
Yes. This is what happens when we do not have supervision. Oh, man. Let's see. Foolish Demon talking about hashtag Ring Adelphia. I guess talking about the Eagles. Or projecting the Sixers. You never know.
Oh, could be both.
Let's see. Yeah, they're hot in here, man. I mean, they're ready to go. They're ready to go. Let's see. How much longer? We have 2 more minutes here. So you want to give the guys on Facebook and YouTube a little preview of what we have coming up in the second half?
So, the second half, we will continue our Eagles wide receiver core talk. We'll talk about how they stack up, or at least how I think, me and Ryan think they stack up against the other wide receiver cores in the league. We'll also talk about an interesting question that BGN said on Twitter that I thought was very, very interesting. And it was, if you could change one play from Eagles history, all of Eagles history, what would it be? One play, not one game, not like anything. So be careful. It's one play. And I've been asked, like, I've been looking around, I've been listening, I've been on Twitter reading people's answers. I've asked my friends. I've heard some really interesting and good answers to it. It's a very interesting question. That's why I put it on.
Do you really? I mean, that is so difficult.
Very
you told
difficult.
me like pre-show about that. I'm still trying to think of one because I know when I say it, 2 seconds later, I'll be like, "Oh no, it's this one."
That's what happened to me. I saw that question and I had one answer, then I went to another answer, and then just earlier today, I heard another answer. I was like, "Oh, I like that one better." So it's a very loaded question.
I'll tell you what, the guys on YouTube, they're going to have a lot of fun with that one. I know that for a fact.
If you're on Facebook, definitely trans over into YouTube. It's just me today, me and Ryan, but I'm telling you, we're going to be talking a lot still. So we'll drop the link over on the Facebook so you can transition over to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please don't go away. Or if you do, come right back because that's what I'm going to do after I go to the bathroom.
Little behind the scenes.
Yes, behind the scenes. Hey, I'm letting you know I'm hosting.
Yeah, family talk, man.
Family talk. So hopefully we see you soon. We got a lot to talk about still, guys. I'm telling you, wide receivers, Eagles, rings, 2017. One last look at the 2017 season also as we say goodbye. So, thank you to our first half sponsor, Gibson Mayer, LLC, our certified public accountant. Make them yours, gibsonmayer.com. The poll question presented by Scanzano Sports. And we are live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios, bmwatlanticcity.com. We will see you in a bit, guys. Come back for the second half. Welcome back. We are Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio, live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios, bmwatlanticcity.com. Second half is brought to you by StreamSmart, streamsmart.com. Our poll question again for tonight is brought to you by Scanzano Sports. Pretty much, who is the best wide receiver going to the 2018 season right now? Is it Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr., or DeAndre Nuke Hopkins? I had on Antonio Brown. Did you ever answer the poll question?
I agreed with you.
You agree with me? Okay, yeah. Okay. Cool. Good to know. You're smart. So we'll get right into it. So we left off talking about the Eagles wide receiver core and what we thought of it. I expect bigger things than last season, and I have high hopes for my guy Nelson Aguilar. What do you think? Like, is there someone in the wide receiver group that you're especially keeping an eye on this season?
It's absolutely Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace, I think, is going to go down as the steal signing of the entire league this offseason. I think we're going to look back at that signing, the chain of events, obviously. Now, it's a shame that part of the exchange, because it's kind of a two-part deal. I always say that we would look back on, but obviously the one won't work out so good. It was the exchange of trading away Torrey Smith for Worley.
Yeah.
And obviously
I forgot his name already.
Yeah, that won't turn out to be very good for obvious reasons. And if you don't know why I'm saying that, just Google and you'll understand. So that puts a downer on things. But I would just say the exchange of being able to trade away, Torrey Smith, who, he was fine. He did not. I don't even want to say he didn't live up to expectations, because I don't think people had high expectations for him last season.
Mm-hmm.
But to trade him away and get a better, cheaper version of him in Mike Wallace so late in free agency, it was week 2 or 3. So to be able to do that under the cap situation that the Eagles were in, dude, and people were panicking, oh, that's Matt Collins' spot. And I alluded to, earlier when people were saying, and I agree that Matt Collins is primed for a breakout season this year. Well, Mike Wallace is there, number one, because he's a very good player. He was there number 1 in Baltimore. Now we're asking him to be no more than a 3, because he's not going to replace Aguilar and he's not replacing Alshon Jeffrey. So he's a guy. He's a 1-2 punch with Matt Collins. And I think for him, who is number 1 or number 2 wide receiver potential, and you have him as a 3 or 4, God. And then you got him so cheap, I think it was very good. I think it was absolutely great. And I think as far as if you would have put him on this Eagles team, he led yards after catch for the Baltimore Ravens last year.
Mm-hmm.
If you put him on this team, he leads. The leader in that category for the Eagles was Matt Collins, and he barely played.
Yeah.
So if you look at that and you compare it to this team, and then you say, for example, like we talked about before the show I think this wide receiver core is absolutely improved. Mike Wallace is absolutely the guy I'm looking after, 100%.
It's not a bad question. I've said on here I wasn't that excited over the signing. Coming in here, gonna be that 4th, 5th option in terms of the whole receiving core. Not just the wide receivers, because Zach Ertz is a favorite, Nelson Aguilar is a favorite, Alshon Jeffrey. He's not, he's not gonna get more targets than them. I think it is a good signing. I think it's something that definitely improves Torrey Smith's spot, where to the point where he's not just going to be that deep threat, but he can do more. He can be more than just a deep threat.
Sixer JT says Torrey Smith was my least favorite player before the playoffs. Then he redeemed himself big time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I always look back, and this is not a play I would definitely change. Obviously alluding to the question later in the show, but more of a play that I can't imagine if it didn't happen where we would be. And that was the Nick Foles pass late in the first half against the Falcons.
Hit off the knee.
And he catches it. I don't know if we. I know this is going to sound crazy, and maybe I'm overhyping it. I don't know if we win that game
If that doesn't happen.
because they get a field goal from Elliott. Because it's after that play, then they go into a play. Nick Foles throws it to Alshon in a play similar to Week 3 versus the Giants, to where he gets out of bounds with 1 or 2 seconds left, and then Jake Elliott kicks a monster field goal for 3.
Yeah.
If you don't have that field goal on the board, that completely changes the complexion of that game, because going into the final play when the Falcons, when we're in our own red zone, the Falcons have the ball. If we don't have that field goal, correct me if I'm wrong, but they only need a field goal for the win, or at least a tie. I'm pretty sure. Now, I could be dead wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
You talking about late in the game?
Yeah, I think at the end.
I think no, they needed. After we kicked the field goal, I think we were up by 5.
Up by 5?
Yeah.
So if we don't have
Because Atlanta needed to score a touchdown.
So if we don't have that field goal, then we're only up by how many? 2?
2. And all they would need is a field goal.
So that play, and I know it was I mean, I don't want to call it fluky, but it was kind of fluky.
It was fluky.
The guy should have freaking caught it. He tried to catch it with his knee.
Yeah.
So, listen, on that play alone, and obviously one of my favorite plays the entire season was, the flea flicker. It wasn't even the season, the postseason, but the flea flicker, and then Torrey Smith caught it. And the way he redeemed himself, because early in that game, he drops a big pass early.
Yeah, it dropped, yep.
So, I mean, he was part of my favorite play of the season, in all honesty. What else we have here? He said the final score was 15-10, so you minus that, it would have been 12-10 with the Falcons basically on, the 5-yard line?
Something like that. It was like the 2 after that Julio Jones
my God.
catch. Yeah.
Torrey Smith saved the season.
Yeah,
I can't believe I said that.
That's the thing. That's the beauty of this wide receiver group is from last year, they all played pivotal roles at certain points. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just one guy. They all stepped up when they needed to.
SJM86 says, fellas, what's up? What's going on, SJM?
What up?
Good to have you.
What up?
So, how about you? Who's your guy that you're definitely keeping an eye on?
Well, besides Nelson, because I'm always Nelson's my guy in terms of wide receivers. I really want to see what all these. I guess you can't say who's my one guy, but from Mac Hollins on down on the depth chart, I'll be watching them, because the top 3 are set. We all know Nelson and Alshon and Mike Wallace are going to be the top 3 wide receivers. Mac Hollins is going to be here, obviously. We're not cutting him or anything. He's going to be that 4th wide receiver on the depth chart, but I want to see how he does going into the second season. But I also want to see who's going to win those last couple of roster spots at the position. I want to see who's going to step up, because, with how injuries went last year, we always need that depth. And Alshon's coming off of surgery. He might not even be ready, or he's not going to be 100% to begin the season. We need as many weapons as we can get. So I want to see who's going to step up out of all those guys on the bubble. Can Marcus Wheaton, like you said, the journeyman wide receiver, can he be a role player as a depth piece, as a special teams guy? Who knows? Can he?
Can I be honest with him?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think he's, and I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope he's something more. I think he was signed as an emergency scenario if Matt Collins sucks.
Okay.
I mean, I honestly
that very well could be it.
I think that's why he was signed.
No, that very well could be. I wouldn't be surprised. But that's why I'm saying, like, all these bubble guys, I'm keeping an eye on, because it could be anyone. Who knows? Marcus Wheaton could play really well and just solidify that 5th spot. He could, 5th spot. Someone we don't know, like one of those training guys. Who is it? Greg Ward, that quarterback who turned into a wide receiver last year.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Greg Ward.
I believe so.
I could be wrong, guys. If I'm wrong, I'll correct me. If you're listening in, but he could be another one. People, he's one of those preseason guys that was doing well last season, that just obviously didn't make the cut. Who knows? Maybe he steps up. So I'm always interested, because with those top slots pretty much a shoe-in, I want to see who's going to make the team after them.
Well, I will say with Marcus Wheaton, and another reason I didn't even touch on why I'm very excited about Mike Wallace, and it doesn't really have anything to do with him. It does in a way. But I'll start with Mike Wallace, for example, and it holds true with Marcus Wheaton because he was on Chicago, and I know it's Chrome's boy, but he had Mitchell Trubisky, throwing to him. So Carson Wentz, we talked about all season when he was healthy that he has the reputation for making guys better.
Yes.
So when I look at a Mike Wallace, he had Joe Flacco, one of the most standard. He's nothing compared to what Carson Wentz can give you. And I understand, Joe Flacco had the one great postseason. Like, he's a Super Bowl champion, so great for him. But when you compare these two guys, a Carson Wentz and a Joe Flacco, I can make an argument for Joe Flacco and freaking Nick Foles, that Nick Foles is better.
Yeah.
So you have a Mike Wallace that was asked to do a lot on his own. He comes here. You can almost have him go back into the shadows as a number 3 or 4. You have a better quarterback that's going to make you better. A Marcus Wheaton, who I only see as a depth guy or an emergency case scenario. You're still going to have somebody that makes you better than your previous quarterback that you played for. So I'm almost listen, I'm not asking Mike Wallace to improve and have a superstar season. Sure, I'll ask him to do that. I'm not demanding it because he's a 3 or a 4. So he's not needed to do it. If he does it, fantastic. I'm not going to complain. But for me, a guy that's coming here who I think is already underrated, coming here in a loaded offense, a better quarterback, and with less pressure on him, my God, I can't expect a better situation for a guy, especially when he comes in and he says, I came here to win.
Yeah.
He didn't come here for the money, clearly, because he did not. God, he was cheap. He was cheap. He waited until the second week in free agency. So for him, for Marcus Wheaton, maybe he can show me more than I think he is. For other guys, like we said, around that bubble, you have the quarterback that can make you better.
Yes.
And that's what's most important because we couldn't say that at all for years on this team. And now we can.
Exactly. We had some good comments. We had SJM saying Eagles wide receiver core, I'd rank them between 15 and 10 with potential to be top 10 because it's Shelton Gibson, if he stays healthy, can contribute. And then JT responds saying Shelton Gibson, I feel, will be cut. If we remember last season, Shelton Gibson had a horrible camp. He was dropping everything he was dropping. But then as training camp progressed and the preseason went along, he started to catch on a little bit, not drop as much. What I've been hearing is that he's continuing to improve. He's still dropping occasional passes, but they're not nearly as much of an issue as they were last season. And he's another one I forgot to mention. Like, I'll be watching him too because you're talking about someone, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but what was he, out of West Virginia? He was drafted out of West Virginia. I remember scouting him a little bit going into last year's draft. And when we got him in the 5th round, I was excited because we didn't, at that point, if you remember, we didn't have like a bona fide deep threat, So I was like, oh, we need a deep threat. We need someone blazing speed. Shelton Gibson has blazing speed. So I liked the pick. So he's one of those guys I will be watching too because if he can figure it out, he could be another guy that makes it at the 5th or 6th spot on the depth chart. He's got really good speed. So
let's see. I love Foolish Demon's comment here. It says there aren't enough footballs for how much depth we have at wide receiver.
Yes.
And I'll just go back. Not only I can make the argument. No, I will make the argument because it's fact. 2 years ago, we were asking for one guy. One. That was the Dorial Green Beckham year.
Yeah.
Where I convinced myself to call Dorial Green Beckham the steal, the dark horse favorite to be a star.
We all did.
That's what the Eagles forced me to say on air.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have enough footballs for all of them.
Yeah.
We have Mike Wallace, who's in the shadows, to where if he comes on this team 2 years ago, he's our one.
Yeah.
It's freaking nuts.
He was the one in Baltimore.
Yes.
So.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with my hands, Charles. I don't know what to do. TTB says he had that 25, 30-yard Odell catch from Chase Daniel and a punt return, and everyone was hell-bent on him making the squad. Don't tell me is he talking about Paul Turner? Paul Turner, Charles.
Oh, Paul Turner.
Oh, question, by the way. I've been
Yeah.
meaning to ask you.
What's up?
Tom, Greg, and I and Chris, we were at the Carson Wentz charity game, the softball game.
Oh, yeah.
Shame on me if I missed this. Oh, I did miss it, so I guess shame on me. I thought Bryce Treggs was in Cleveland.
No, he came back.
When? When did I miss that one?
I think it was either. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was either middle of the season. Middle of last season, he was signed back onto the practice squad, or just early. He was already off the team at the end of the season, and you know how at the end of the season, teams sign just people to fill out a 90-man roster.
Yeah, they expand. Yeah.
I think that's when we signed him. It's
because
one of those two.
when he was in the home run derby there.
Yeah.
And anyone that was at the game in the chat, you'll know what I'm talking about. And he played. I kid you not. They went from having Zach Ertz, place erupted. Nick Foles, place erupted. Jake Elliott, place erupted. Next to bat, Bryce Treggs.
I can imagine.
What? Wait, hey, Billy. Wait, he's on the... He's back? I thought why is he not wearing a Cleveland Browns jersey? I literally looked at Tom, I'm like, why is he here?
Oh, my God.
I missed it. Like,
yeah.
we don't miss things.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
wait a second. Wait, what the hell? Why
He's
is
back.
he here?
Yeah.
I thought, and then Tom and I are like, wait, maybe he was signed like today and they flew him in. Like, we were so shocked. So, safe to say Bryce Treggs is not going to be a factor. He's just back for fun,
I'm guessing
I guess?
he's
Like
the training camp. I guess for training. I mean, he didn't do bad in the preseason, but if I were to compare his chances to Marcus Wheaton or who's the guy we just mentioned, Shelton Gibson,
Yeah.
I'd say those two have better chance than Bryce Treggs. And I don't think he's. Well, yeah, I don't think he's an atrocious player. He's just. I think that he is what he is. He's a borderline. He's always going to be like that preseason, camp body. I don't think he's ever going to be significant enough to be on like a team during the regular season.
Well, especially a Super Bowl roster.
Yeah, Super Bowl roster.
And one of the deepest, if not the most deep wide receiver core in the entire NFC.
Yeah.
This is a good one. 6JT says Jordan Matthews, DGB, Aguilar, Huff. Those were the days. And then Foolish Demon says not better than Pinkston, Thrash, and Mitchell. Let me ask you and the people at home, which core were worse? Pinkston, Thrash, Mitchell, or Matthews, DGB, Aguilar, and Huff?
Matthews, DGB, Aguilar, and Huff.
100%.
100% them. Because Pinkston, we all joke about Pinkston, but Pinkston was
Stinkston, you mean?
Stinkston. He had deep ball ability.
Yeah.
Like he did. And James Thrash was, as much as again, I'm not saying any of these guys before anyone gets on me. But I mean, I would definitely take that group, that trio over what we had with DJ. Like, come on, DGB.
I know. I was stuck talking about it for 2 years. I know.
Nelson Aguilar for
Pre-Aguilar.
Pre-Aguilar. Number 7. We'll call him 17 Aguilar because he was bad when he was number 17. When he converted to 13.
Draft pick number 21, 2015, as I called him.
Yeah.
Code number 21, 2015. Exactly. SJM has a question for us. He says, Chuck's Brodo question, would you have rather had Anthony Miller or Goddard? Just curious. I think Miller was off the board. Just for conversation's sake, which one would you have rather had?
That's so tough.
I'll let you take the lead on this one, my man.
So tough. If I'm going off of my personal philosophy, in terms of when it comes to the draft, you always draft best talent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say Anthony Miller because Anthony Miller was my wide receiver 2.
Mm-hmm.
Or 2 or 3, something like that. He was around wide receiver 2 or 3. But Anthony Miller was the guy where I was yo, if you get him on day 2, you have a potential star. Him, DJ Moore, and Dante Pettis were my top 3, and Moore and Anthony Miller, I think, are going to be stars in this league. So, based on that, if I'm going to go off that, I guess I'd have to say Anthony Miller if I'm going to stay true to that philosophy. But in terms of if I have to take into account this specific Eagles team and what the Eagles needs are, it's Goddard, because we needed that second tight end. We need, our wide receivers are pretty much set. We need that second tight end to replace Trey Burton, and so it's possible the positional need of a second tight end outweighed or was close enough where that gap in terms of talent was would have been okay. So it's tough for me to say. I think in the end I'm gonna have to say Goddard. I'll say if you put a gun to my head, I'm glad we picked Goddard. But if you're asking me who I think is going to be a better overall player, I think it's going to be Anthony Miller.
Foolish Demon took the words right out of my mouth, put it in print perfectly. Thank you, Foolish Demon, because I loved Anthony Miller. I think he's a very good talent. But when I talk about fit, and listen, don't get me wrong, whenever there's an opportunity to improve your team, I don't care if you have a deep wide receiver core, a deep running back core, whatever. I can go with any position here. If you have the opportunity to improve your team for the better, you do it.
Yeah.
But, like Foolish Demon said, pre-signing Wallace, absolutely Anthony Miller. Mm-hmm. But now that I know, and we knew at that time we had Mike Wallace, and we knew about Trey Burton, we knew about the backup for Zach Ertz. We needed somebody that wasn't Richard freaking Rodgers.
Yep.
It's absolutely Dallas/Philly Goddard for me.
Yeah.
And like I said, my whole thing is if Anthony Miller comes in on a roster that has an Alshon, an Aguilar, a Hollins, a Wallace, I can keep going.
Yeah.
Who is he replacing?
Yeah, where are you going to get his touches?
And for Goddard, and we talked about this last week to where, and obviously this is only very, very early in camp reports, but I had said this when we drafted him. I loved he was an absolute red zone threat. I think he can be one of our top threats in the red zone, to be completely honest.
No, Goddard, right?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
So we needed a red zone threat, not only with losing Trey Burton, but I had said last week with also losing LeGarrette Blount. And I know LeGarrette Blount is a running back.
But he was a...
Yes. So when I can just analyze them as red zone threats, we lose one, Blount. We arguably lost two, Blount and Burton.
Yeah.
We acquire one young and cheap. We don't have to go out and acquire somebody and overpay or trade for him in free agency or somebody in the offseason. We draft Dallas Goddard in the second round. And I think that's a need, and I absolutely think he's going to be great for us. I really, truly do. That's a great question, by the way.
It is a very good question.
It's our time. Philly says, "What's up, fellas? Thanks for the show. I love Goddard." Well, thanks for chiming in. It's our time, Philly.
Thank you. We usually have more people here, but...
You know what? We're the only ones who showed up today, so it's gonna have to be okay.
It's all right. Go ahead. You're
it's our time. Philly also says Goddard equals big physical and got crazy hands. Absolutely.
Yep.
SJM says Harrison is an in-the-box safety, can't cover. Howie likes safeties that can cover in the slot. Eagles have the highest paid safeties in the NFL and bargain price corners.
We do.
Smart on Howie's part.
Yep, we do. That's another thing. We'll talk. I'm going to talk about DBs in 2 weeks.
Oh my
so
God.
let's say that SJM. Well, I have we're doing our positional.
I like it. I love it.
SJM, if you can save that, if you can remember, and it's just whatever topic you want to talk about with DBs, save it for two weeks from now. That's when we'll be talking about the DBs ranking cornerbacks and safeties and stuff.
While the family is hot, unless you had other stuff, while the family is hot in here, you want to go into the change one play?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I think this is going to get crazy.
Okay, so that was the question. So I'll reiterate the question or re-say the question for all the listeners now. It's if you could change one play in all of Eagles history, what play would it be? And it's just one play. It's not a game. It's not a whole season. It is one play. If you change one play in Eagles history, what would it be? I'll ask you first, Ryan.
Oh, don't start. with me.
You want me to say mine?
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right. So
I'm hoping somebody
again,
drops a comment
like
that
I
can
said-
bail me out
Like
here.
I
'cause
said,
can't.
I was going through a lot of choices because it's the loaded question. My first answer, and this one might surprise you. So because I have two answers generally because I couldn't decide which one I like more. So I'm just I say two different ones. One or the other would have been fine with me, but the first one that I first came up with is the fourth was it 4th and 1, 4th and 10, the fourth down conversion that we failed to get. No, I'm sorry. It was 3rd and 10. Sorry, 3rd and 10. The 2006-2007 NFC divisional game against the Saints in New Orleans. If you guys remember, it's the year we had Jeff Garcia come in and replace McNabb.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3rd and 10, and I think we had just been called for a false start. We converted a second down or third down conversion, but it was called back. We got a false start, put us to 3rd and 10, I believe. I would change that 3rd and 10 to a screen pass to Westbrook and then he takes it all the way to the house to give us a game-winning touchdown. Because if we win that game, I really do believe we beat the Bears the next round in the NFC Conference Championship game. And then in the Super Bowl, I think we have a good chance against that Colts team. I think if you remember back, that 2006 team was very similar to how this team came about because we had McNabb up and through I think a little bit over half the season, and then he went down with an ACL injury, and then Jeff Garcia came in. Everyone, his first start, he lost to the Colts. We lost to the Colts, and we lost Colts or Patriots. Sorry, we lost to the Patriots. And it was bad. But no, I'm sorry, it was the Colts. I'm sorry, I keep going back and forth. We lost to the Colts. The next Jeff Garcia's first start. But then after that, we won I think 5 straight games, and we somehow came back and we won the division, and we were the hottest team in the NFL. We had so much momentum. Jeff Garcia was playing lights out. Westbrook was leading the team, leading that offense. The defense was playing really well. Like, if we had just won that game, I really feel like we had a shot at a Super Bowl. That season meant a lot to me for personal reasons, and when we lost that game, I was really heartbroken. So that was the first play that came to my mind. I would change that. But then I heard an answer earlier today that really got me thinking, and it can be very controversial. So I want to hear yours and everyone else's opinion on this. The one play, Carson Wentz not diving in the end zone against the Rams and not getting injured.
No. I don't say no. Listen to me. Forever who said that, okay? If you're not wrong, okay?
It's very
but
interesting.
Now knowing, hindsight 2020, that it would lead to so much of a roller coaster of emotions. And it would birth arguably the greatest story of this city ever in sports.
Mm-hmm.
He's fine now, okay? We can assume he's fine now. It won't affect him. Let's knock on wood wherever I could find it in the studio here. It's not going to. We can assume and hope he's going to be ready for week 1.
Okay.
So under that notion, no.
Okay.
I disagree.
Now
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. Right now, like at this moment, yeah, we can look back and saying that, okay, yeah, we won a Super Bowl, so and it was in a great way possible, like because we won it with our backup quarterback. So I understand, but when you think about it right now, can any of us 100% say that we are going to win one with Carson Wentz? And would you ever, wouldn't you want to say that you'd want Carson Wentz to be able to win one as the starting quarterback in a Super Bowl with us?
100%. And like I said, I think sure, you can put that on the list. I don't think that's number one by any means. I don't think that's top 3. Yes, you would like him. Hello, Greg. How are you?
Greggy.
If you want to just chime in, we're talking about you want to tell Greg the name of the game. Go ahead. Tell him.
If you want to join, the question is, if
him.
you could change one play in Eagles history, what would it be? We are gonna get someone on the couch with me.
Hashtag countdown to Greg. So, listen. I wish Carson Wentz didn't get hurt. I'm not saying, oh, he's fine. He'll be fine. Listen, I'd rather him never get hurt ever, especially our star quarterback. I truly do believe he's going to win multiple Super Bowls for us. I really do.
I believe it, yeah.
But years down the line, that could change. Depending on how his health is, we can go back 5 years from now and look at that play and say that's the biggest play as far as his career, because that could be something, hopefully not, that starts the train of injuries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, listen, I know he's going to have some restrictions coming back. I mean, he's not going to be as mobile. I just don't know if that's number one, because at the end of the day, that did not keep us from attaining the ultimate goal. Thank God.
I totally understand.
Now, for me, and I'll get to the chat in a sec, mine, and I'll go more recent, and it wasn't on the biggest stage, but it was the Riley Cooper dropped pass against the Saints.
2013.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is about the Saints.
Yes.
Both our picks were against the Saints.
Yeah,
God damn.
Thank God we didn't have to face them this year. Thank God. Thank God we got the friggin' team of destiny.
Minnesota
team
Miracle.
of destiny. Fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good Lord. Riley Cooper, you got to make the freaking catch. Can we make a catch, please? And, I mean, if you make that catch, I mean, I think it's completely – I mean, they win that game.
It could have been, yeah.
And then who would they go on to face after that? Who did the Saints play?
2013. Why am I drawing a blank?
I feel like it's the Packers. I want to say it's the Packers. I'll check.
Could have been.
I'll check. Chat if you want to chime that in as well.
So I'll read while you're checking. I'll read the chat. Sixers JT says McNabb's interception to Rodney Harrison. I'm guessing he's talking about in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, because it was the Westbrook.
They were
in the red zone. Yeah.
Yep. McNabb. SJM 86 says McNabb throwing the pick to Rondé Barber NFC Championship game. The Rondé Barber one was a very popular one. TTP Ball said, I would have said run the ball on the play Wentz got hurt, but Foles carried us to the promised land. Foolish Demon says, I've been an Eagles fan since 2004 when I first got into football, so I'll say the ACL injury to Wentz. I wanted him to get his first ring as a starter. Foolish Demon says what I heard earlier today, the Carson Wentz injury. SGM86 says that Rondé Barber pick still eats my soul alive, and he's not the only one. A lot of people, that Rondé Barber pick, for a lot of people, that was one of the most heartbreaking and most dead they felt as fans.
Mm-hmm.
Because we honestly felt like that was our year. So
we would have faced the Seahawks, by the way, I believe.
We would face the Seahawks in the next round? Interesting. Sixers JT says, the final score was 21-24. That interception hurt. SJM says, kills me. McNabb misread Tampa's cover 2 and threw into the lonely double covered spot behind the nickel next to the free safety. It's our time, Philly. Says big pass drop by T.O. sub versus Patriots. I'm guessing they're saying the big pass drop by Terrell Owens in the Super Bowl versus the Patriots. Do you remember that pass? I don't remember. He had like 9 catches, so it's tough to remember any drops that he had.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
T.O.'s pass to because
T.O.'s pass?
No, T.O.'s catch.
I'm sorry.
Drop. It's our time. Philly says big pass dropped by T.O. in the Super Bowl versus the Patriots. I don't remember. It's our time. If you remember more of the details, I'm
sure it happened. I'm not
sure
calling a liar,
I don't remember a lot from that game.
Maybe it's better that I don't remember that one, to be completely honest with you.
It's been tough. It's been tough to rewatch that game because, yeah, I can't bring myself to rewatch that game.
People kept. I remember back in Super Bowl week this past year. People kept watching that game, and I'm like, why? Why are you going? Like, I understand it's the last time we were in the Super Bowl, but like, why?
Even now, I can't. That's one of the very rare games, very few games that I just can't go back and watch.
No,
I can't. I can't relive it. SJM says, "I wish you guys could take calls to hear the agony."
Oh, we'll use our imagination. Who said that? SJM.
SJM.
Yeah. Here he is.
There he is, Greggy.
Hello, sir.
Greggy.
I feel like I should play some entrance music for you.
I finally got some company on this couch. Feels good. What's up, man? Foolish Demon says Warner to Hightower touchdown versus Arizona, 2008 NFC Championship game. Yeah, I remember. That's one of the games I was actually watching today because my cousins were saying, that pass to Riley Cooper. If you remember, late in the 2008 game against the Cardinals, the 4th and 10 pass to Cooper, to Kevin Curtis, that was supposed to be a pass interference call, but it wasn't called, and it pretty much gave the Cardinals back the ball at midfield. Because it was Kevin Curtis.
Kevin Curtis. He doesn't deserve a pass interference call.
But yeah, we've just been ripping through. My answer was the 2006-07 divisional game against the Saints. Instead of failing to convert on 3rd and 10, we actually convert and score a touchdown to beat the Saints because I believe that the next round against the Bears. I remember this is when we had Jeff Garcia.
Right.
The next round against the Bears, I really do believe we beat them, and I think we do have a good chance against the Colts that year. So that was my answer, and then his was
the Riley Cooper dropped catch versus the Saints.
Versus the Saints, 2013.
Okay.
Now I want to ask Greg his stance on the Carson Wentz play.
So
lay it down for
one of the answers that I
Greg.
heard earlier today, which was very interesting, and I had to use it as one, was the one play they would change was Carson Wentz's dive into the end zone against the Rams where he got hurt. They said they would change that so that Wentz would win the Super Bowl instead of Nick Foles.
But there's no guarantee that happens.
Yep.
I don't change it because what happened after that is what makes this team so great.
That's true. It's a good point. That's what he said, yeah.
I mean, everybody knows how I felt going into the year. I thought they were going to be 7-9. You know, not the biggest Doug fan. Still sometimes at times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of it's more trolling anymore than anything. But
fair.
It just proves that this team was a family, was a team, that it really was next man up. So I understand where someone would say that, but I don't change it for it all because there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
How do you change something in a season where you won the ultimate prize?
Because
one thing changes, you don't win. What if Carson doesn't get hurt that game, but gets hurt another game?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And Nick doesn't have that drive that sustained that lead to end the game. And then a full week of practice leading up to whatever the next game was. I think it was the Giants right away, right? That was
Giants, then
Giants,
Oakland.
yeah.
And then, because I remember Mike famously said multiple times, Mataraki, in that last Rams game was the last time that they stayed in somebody else's bed other than theirs for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like the way the whole season played out. I don't change that.
No, and then too, like, listen, he's our star. And I said as well, like, we can look 5 years down the line. Hopefully I'm dead wrong, but, like, say, for example, he gets hurt again. It's the same injury. Then we could look back saying, oh, my God, that started the cycle.
Sure.
But at the moment, I can't say that's on the list because it did not stop us from achieving our ultimate goal. We still won the friggin' thing. And I could argue that, and listen, for all the people that, if they're still out there that believe Nick Foles should start over Carson Wentz, I'm sorry, I'm not agreeing with you on this, but if you go into a separate universe and you put Carson Wentz in the role of Nick Foles does not have two of the greatest playoff and then Super Bowl performances maybe ever.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking that out of the equation, and then you're like, okay, we have to assume that a guy who's never been in the playoffs before, only second year in the league. Oh yeah, he'll do better. He'll sweep that. He'll get 600 yards. Well, that's the way we would be playing that.
I actually think he would have. We was the one, but it is to the point that I made earlier, where we believe he will win Super Bowls, upcoming, but there's no guarantee. I will admit that even though I do believe we would have won with Wentz, there's no guarantee we would have won. Like it works both ways. So I totally understand what you're saying. I thought it was very interesting. So it was one that I had to pose because we all love Carson Wentz. He's our guy.
He got boned in the ratings though, by the way. He got boned in the Madden ratings, by the way.
Yeah, he did.
My
Get boned.
God.
He
Yeah.
got boned.
SJM, I'm not gonna. I might let you. You should read that one, Charles.
Which one? SJM?
He's begging one of us to read his Riley Cooper comment. I don't even on here.
I don't want.
I don't know if that's appropriate even on the air here. And we have to go deep for me to even say that.
I'm not gonna read it.
We see it.
I can only imagine, and I can't say it. I can only imagine what it says.
There you go. It's at the very top of the chat.
Eagles.
Yeah,
Yes.
as I said, I can only imagine.
Eagles 01 says we would have faced the Panthers if we won in 2013.
All right.
Yeah, so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because they were the big overachiever in that horrible division. That's correct.
Oh yeah.
I think that was Cam Newton's. I think that was the accident here where he got in the car accident.
It might have been.
I believe so.
Deion Brown does say I changed one play. It's McNabb's interception to Rondé Barber. That is a very popular one. Again, a lot of people have said that one. Foolish Demon says 2008 is the game I cannot see again, because we were talking about like which games can we still not bring ourselves to rewatch. I said the Super Bowl. I can't bring myself to watch that game still, but a lot of people say that a lot of my cousins say the 2008 game against the Cardinals, that loss they can't watch again. SJM says Dion, I'm with you. Sixers JT, when you said Kevin Curtis, he was like, "Holy shit, Kevin Curtis." Where else? Do you have a comment or?
TTB says something else is people say playoff experience means a lot. While we know Wentz is clearly the more talented football player, Foles had that game under his belt and knew what to expect. That's true. And also, listen.
I mean, part of the love affair of Nick Foles is everybody fell in love with him before.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody thought he was the godsend as a backup quarterback, and it turned out to be. But it was like it was a TTB?
Yeah.
But to his point, there's no guarantee that Carson has the same effect coming in relief.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely correct. And then, also, and I could be reaching here, but we all saw and we talked about, in the moment, the adjustments that Doug and the offense had to make.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that, under Carson, they would have needed to make adjustments, for certain games. But it allowed them to take a complete reset, not only of the quarterback position, but the entire offense, and adjust it based on their opponents. It made them take a second look. And I honestly think that's when people go back and look at it. I think that was huge for Doug. Not only during, pregame adjustments, but during games, during the halftime, et cetera. So I think that was huge for him.
Now, okay, I mean, good. That's a valid point, a very, very, very valid point. The other thing I wanted to ask, because based on what you guys saying, knowing that we won it the way we did, knowing that we did end up winning it, now taking it a step further, would you change anything in the past, knowing that we did win it the way we did? Knowing that our first Super Bowl win was like a fairy tale type of Super Bowl win where everything just came together, all the storylines, who knows? Maybe if the team doesn't have part of that pressure where they need to win it for the first to be the city's first Super Bowl, maybe they don't. Maybe I know it's stretching a little bit, but maybe they don't play quite as well. I don't know, because maybe that pressure did amplify their play. So. Do you take it as you don't change anything because a small little change, even if it's 10 years ago, might change the outcome of this year?
I don't change a damn thing, to be completely honest with you. And I'll just say surrounding this season. I'll just simplify it. And I think the easy answer could be I wish the likes of Darren Sproles, Jason Peters, didn't get hurt. I could say the same thing for Wentz. Like, obviously, I wish they were all able to play. But going along with this entire storyline of, for the first part of the season on, how we were so lucky because other teams were so injured and we somehow survived, even though that was such fake news because Darren Sproles we lost very early. I mean, we lost we lost our the cornerback. The guy we traded from we lost Darby for 6-7 weeks. We lost Jason Peters, etc. So, and then I go back and I remember thinking about it Super Bowl week, and I said, we lost arguably our leader of our running backs. We lost him. We lost our leader for the offensive line. Lost him. We lost Maragos, our leader for special teams.
Yep.
And we lost our leader for obviously the quarterbacks, Carson Wentz. So
we lost Jordan Hicks, the signal caller.
Yes.
I mean, that's a given. No, it's any year.
Yeah, that's true. That's like a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, love you, Jordan. Please prove us wrong.
That's a Tuesday.
Hopefully he didn't get hurt today.
Yeah, hopefully
he didn't get hurt today.
Hopefully we made it to the facility. Okay. No, hopefully they had an off day just to not even chance it. So, it went along with the storyline of we weren't lucky, all right? And then we did have to face adversity. And again, teams slept on us again and again because if it wasn't, you lost Darren Sproles, the leader of the running backs, it was, you lost your only hope for the cornerbacks in your secondary, Ronald Darby. You traded to get him. You lost him. Oh, my God, you lost your Hall of Fame left tackle. You're not going to make it there. Oh, you lost your MVP candidate quarterback. You're not going to win there. It was every week. Yeah. It was another stepping stone of people saying, here's another reason you can't trust Philadelphia. They're not going to do it. They're a pipe dream. They're not going to do it. And they did it. They did it. And I don't know if it's fair for me to say those guys needed to be, quote, unquote, sacrificed for the sake of the storyline. But in a way, looking back on it, I don't change anything because it made it so much more special.
Well, I mean, I'm more so talking about like even years ago. Do you change any play from our history? Because everyone's talking about Rondé Barber, 2008. The Super Bowl, change the play from that to so that we might have won one before. But would you do that? Would you change that so that maybe we win one before? Knowing that we won one this year.
I mean, to answer the question, yes, I do change something. You know what I mean? Just to answer the question.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, no. Because it makes it that much better now after this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It made Broad Street that much sweeter.
That much more special.
You know what I mean? It made that run so much sweeter. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, a healthy TO in the Super Bowl game, what does that do? But with the healthy TO, now we're doing sit-ups in the driveway. Like, I love me some T.O. theater.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing better than T.O. and Ocho going back and forth with each other. Like, that's gold. Mm-hmm. But you have to take the good with the bad. Yep. Especially when you finally when you finally pop your cherry and you make it to the big dance and you get it over the hump.
That's what I was.
Yeah, I mean, for a question point, I do, but.
To be honest with you, and this is going to sound crazy because, it would have been great if we won in 04. It would have been fantastic. It would have been great if we won back in the 90s, in the 1900s, back in, 80?
80.
It would have been great. It would have been great to win every year, to be honest, because, of course, that's what you want in sports. But going back, I was 7 years old, okay? I was 7, 8 years old. I knew I would have appreciated it then.
But not like now.
Yeah. And I think, and I said this, the show we did right after they won. I said.
Number 7,
I'm old. Yeah. No, I'm just really young. I'm just really young.
I was 18.
So for us to go through the entire.
I probably wouldn't have remembered the parade.
What, if you're like 7 or something?
No, obviously
I wouldn't have been at the 04. I wouldn't have been in the parade. I was at college. I was at Rutgers. So I would have been in school during the parade.
Oh, you would have been at the parade. But I would have remembered it. You know what I mean? I was 22, 23.
Yeah.
You think I would have remembered it?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So, in all honesty, and I remember saying it right after they won, the entire journey of us coming in here every week, talking about it, before the season, talking about it, during the postseason, just going through the entire emotions, and not like selfishly, like that entire journey is recorded forever. Like it's on YouTube. I can literally go back on a random Wednesday and just look back on it.
Unless they take it off.
So, unless YouTube's like, we're not happy with that. We hate Philadelphia as well. But like the entire I can appreciate it
Yeah.
way more this year than I could have back then because it's my entire life.
Yeah.
This team is my entire life.
I think with us it's a little different too because we are in the position we are now. We do this, and Chrome and I we were saying it too. Like we have a ton of appreciation for because this season was the season we got on with A2D. We met you guys. We started doing this show, and the fact that our first year doing the show was the Super Bowl year. It makes
you got a lot to hold up to.
Yeah,
you're
like,
1-0. I mean,
we're like holy crap. Like so it's great.
We
and
go on
like,
a losing streak. We know who to start with.
we're gonna
right.
have this time next year we're gonna have a serious discussion.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
it's just gonna need to happen.
We're gonna have to contract negotiations.
Yeah, come into the office, Charles. Jerome. No Phillies game tonight. We're gonna need you. Yep.
But
Coach wants to see you. Bring your playbook.
Yeah.
but I totally get what you're saying because like I asked this to one of my other friends. He's like, no, I definitely would change something because 2 rings is better than 1. Yeah, the more rings, the better. But at the same time, from a fan's perspective, all the suffering we've been through, to me, it was worth it. Like it was totally worth it to go through the storyline we did this year and have that emotional experience because. As I've told you, 06 was a very personal season to me, where it meant a lot to me. And when Wentz went down and Foles came in, it struck me really hard because it reminded me of when McNabb went down and Garcia had to come in. It reminded me of that, and I was like, this is why I still believe in Foles because Garcia did it with a less talented team. I believe in the talent on this team, the chemistry and camaraderie of this team. Why can't we still go all the way? So going through all those storylines as a team with the Eagles and as someone like personally for me who now like for me as a fan, you know, I just got in with ATD. I just started the scouting school. I'm really getting into football. My appreciation level for a Super Bowl win is at its like peak. Where I would never ever before I would never have appreciated a Super Bowl win as much as I do right now because I'm doing this as like a major thing in my life. And so it's like I wouldn't change when it comes down to it, would I risk changing one thing to make that would maybe lessen my experience of this past year? No, I wouldn't do it. So I would leave the history of the Eagles as it is. I wouldn't change one play. I would just take everything as it happened.
And I also say, I always go back and say numerous times, you know, look at how many people we met just because of this team, you know, through the chats, through Facebook, YouTube, etc. You know, look how much, you know, we've grown as a station and obviously it's doing what we do because of this team. And that's why, you know, you guys remember I was furious that week during the Falcons. I did so many friggin' videos talking about how when there was a select group of people in this fan base that were trying to say, you know, right before they played the Falcons, they said if they don't win this game, this entire season is a complete waste of time. And I got so pissed because it's like that, and that was before we knew we were even winning that game. We were going to win the next game and the following game and end up being Super Bowl champions. That was just getting to the playoffs when no one really expected us to be anything. People expected us to be 4th place in the division.
Yeah.
And that entire season, just alone, the regular season was so special because you had the likes of the Jake Elliott kick. You know, you had stories like the Dutch Destroyer. I mean, it's just these little moments that happen, and people say, like, oh, that, you know, if you didn't win the Super Bowl, it was a waste of time. No. Because with that logic, any Eagles season before that would have been a waste of time, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
It's just not true. Let's see.
There's 2 plays that stick out in regards to the question. Well, there's 2 games and then 1 play I definitely don't change, right? So yeah, the 2 Bucs games. Watching, I still have nightmares of Rondé Barber running because me and my best friend we were lucky during that time frame that he was working at a gym where a lot of the Eagles' wives worked out. So we were constantly coming into some free tickets to a lot of the games, you know. And, you know, yeah, I still have nightmares of Rondé Barber running right into me, you know, right into that end zone.
I could.
Joe Jaravicis just tearing us up. So, yeah, I mean, to respond to the question itself, you know, those 2 games, plays in that game, yeah, I change. But one thing I don't change is I was lucky enough to be at the game for 4th and 26.
Oh my
I
God.
was in the end
Wow.
zone, 2 rows behind off the field. We had gotten tickets from Dirk Johnson's wife, Jen,
Oh.
smoking hot little blonde, naturally, right?
All football wise.
So, I mean, real quick, we're sitting there, come down, we're sitting with the family, like with his wife.
Okay.
And, so we're like cheering on, we're being cordial. And then the first punt, and she just rips into like psycho mode. Rip his fucking head off.
My kind of fan. That's awesome.
like
Me
that.
and my best friend, we look at each other, we go, okay, I guess it's going to be one of these type of games. So then we just, then we were Philly fans. You know what I mean? Not that we weren't, but
Yeah.
you didn't know how to react. Free tickets, you're in the end zone, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, around family, you wanted to be nice, appreciate
You want to test the waters first before it.
And then the play happens, and it was just like, because we were in the end zone and they were going away from us.
Okay.
We had zero depth perception.
So you didn't know.
So we had no idea. So we're sitting there, we're like, yeah! once we finally heard it on like the PA, we were like going nuts. So, I definitely don't change it, but I was glad like to be there for that because it's something you can always like, I was there for 4th and 26. Like, I was there.
SJM says I was at that same game, Greg. My uncle had season tickets since 1976, section 113.
Nice.
Very, very
That's
cool.
awesome.
Foolish Demon said 4th and 26 is what put the Eagles on the map for me. That led to me becoming a fan.
Nice.
We have a lot of comments in here reminiscing. What was your other two? You said you had like two. You had that and you had the other two?
The 2 Bucks games.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go.
Rondé
Bucks
Barber
games,
and
yeah.
Jared Vicious.
I want to run down these because these are fantastic comments.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
perfect because it plays right into
Wow.
what we were
What
going
we
to
were
do, like
talking
the
about, yeah.
reminiscing type
Yeah.
thing. Let's see. I don't even know where to be. So I'll start with SJM. He says, I remember calling Tom and Brian Stokes about Chip Kelly and maybe drafting Mariota. Now look where we are at now, basically.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that earlier, Charles. We were saying like, oh my God, we were asking him to sell the farm for Mariota.
Heck yeah.
No, yeah.
I mean, that was only 3 years ago.
That wasn't that far ago.
I mean, that's nuts to me.
Yeah.
Sixer JT says 3 7-9 seasons in a row. Damn, we've come a long way. Foolish Demon says my emotions were 50% winning the Super Bowl, 50% elation as a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true because, like, I don't know about you guys. Like, I know your reaction. I saw your reaction. We all know that one.
The
Well
world's-
documented. Well documented.
I still regret not posting that, by the way. I still like that.
You can at any time.
That might need to happen. Like, never forget.
a throwback Thursday.
A2D host Charles Moran burst into flames as the Eagles
Oh
win
my
the Super
God.
Bowl.
And there's
It's a phenomenal video.
The thing is, there's 2 videos.
Yes.
There's the one of Brandon Graham,
The fumble.
my reaction to Brandon Graham's fumble.
Where you fly into the air.
Where
Yeah.
I fly in the air, and I'm screaming. I'm screaming, shut the F up.
Yeah.
Like,
Shut
and
the
it
F up.
was just, like,
No
someone-
effing way. No effing way.
and then like I'm on the ground, like, and then you see another part that my friend pointed out was like, because you see my sister next to me,
Yeah.
and apparently we look like twins. Apparently, like we look identically alike, and we are sobbing, like we're sobbing.
Oh,
Both
the
next to each
entire
other.
room was sobbing. It looked like there were 50 people in that room, and all I see is tears. I'm like, oh my God, that room's gonna flood.
Yeah.
That room's gonna flood
It
with
was
your
crazy.
tears.
Yeah, and then the reaction at the end of the game where I just
Oh.
it was zeros and out. Next thing I knew, I'm just on the ground. So
That was kind of my reaction. I just went to the ground. I have no shame in saying, like, I was sobbing on the ground because it was half like, holy hell, we did it, and there was like a sigh of relief, like,
yeah,
it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I stood up, and it was just like, it took me a minute to process that there was all zeros, there was no flag, and we won.
It was so anticlimactic because
Yeah,
no
like-
one knew. We were like,
And I'm
Yeah.
just, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I didn't like sob. I mean, sure, there was tears, but I didn't sob. But it was only after like you got home and you started watching like the post game show.
post games and everything.
You know what I mean?
I was up till like 4 a.m.
Oh,
watching.
me
oh,
too.
I
Yeah.
didn't
Me
sleep.
too.
I didn't sleep.
You know what I mean? Like I watched Ray Didinger hug his son.
Oh,
like,
God, that's
like
another
7
one. I'm
times
like, oh, my God, Ray.
Because I just kept watching the loop, and I'm like, oh my God. And then you start crying there, and then
Yeah.
you start hearing different stories and the meaning it meant to so many different people, and that's where it like started to hit me, you know, in different waves. Like after the game, I was like, oh, we won. Cool, hug my best friend. We were like, yeah, we won. With fireworks with his little son, you know what I mean? But like, there was no like, there was no like complete sobbing for me.
Uh-huh.
But it hit me in waves. You know,
yeah,
I mean, it hit me in waves, like going forward.
Definitely.
You know what got me too, and it was actually a shame. So my grandparents were on a trip. They were in Australia, and they had called me the next day.
Barbie, eh?
Yeah. So I joked with them afterwards. I'm like, okay, next Super Bowl, we're gonna put you on another cruise, and we're gonna put you over there because first time you've been in Australia.
It worked.
Yes, it worked. So next year we're gonna do the same, and again. I'll get you a house over there. It'll be fine. So. When I talked to my grandfather, when I heard him start to choke up, that's what got me because it's realization that he's had to deal with it more than like I'm lucky. I only had to deal with it for 21 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's had to deal with it a lot longer than I have.
Mm-hmm.
That's what got me.
Yeah.
It's like the sheer appreciation I have can't even be matched to someone like my grandfather that's been around. You know what I mean? That's what was really put in perspective for me.
Yeah, and you see all the stories about like all the families, like the older. I don't want to I don't want to offend anyone. Like older people. Go ahead, go read.
Mary's in the chat.
Oh, Mary's in the chat. Yeah. She texted me. She's like, "Where's the link?" I'm like, "YouTube, babe."
She said it was 10 times more intense in person. I guess your reaction.
Yeah, yeah. She was the one filming the second video where I'm crying at the end of the game.
Yeah.
She's the one filming it, and at one point we laugh at it because she's filming, and then at one point where I'm like crouched down. You see her hand just go like this on my back.
Well, it's funny when you
like this.
when you turn around, it's like
Good doggy. Yes.
When you turn around, like when we could see your face for the first time on that, I'm like, is Charles hiding his face? Because you look at the face, like at the camera, and like you shield your face. I'm like, no, just let it out, Charles. Embrace it. You don't have to hide it. We know you're crying.
I didn't want people to see my ugly ass crying face. So I'm like, I shouldn't, because I knew the camera was there.
As Carrie Underwood said, you can't cry pretty.
Yeah, you can't. You really can't.
But go on. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, you talk about all the people, all the older, the older generations, and how long they've been going through this. And I'm not gonna lie, when I'm bored at work, I go on YouTube and I still watch reaction videos.
Oh,
I still watch, and I still get choked up because it just means that much. And I remember I rewatched the guy from was it Ohio? The news reporter.
Oh my God!
Where
he's
like, yeah, he's like on air. He's like, yeah, we did it, and he's like fumbling his papers. He's just crying. That gets me. There's the one guy when the Eagles showed up, finally landed back in Philly, and they met all the people at the fence at the gate.
By the way, I completely regret not doing that.
At the gate.
I completely regret not doing that.
I didn't think about that.
I remember meeting the '93 Phillies home after they lost. Like, and that like memory sticks in my head.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'm like sitting there. I had taken the whole week off after the Super Bowl just in case because you didn't know when the parade was.
I did the same. Yeah.
And so like every day I was like, all right, well,
what am I gonna do?
I have nothing to do today, so I'm gonna go to work.
Yeah.
Tommy.
I mean, my guy said he was gonna stay in Atlantic City all night.
I'm just
scared.
I'm probably spending the night. I'm probably spending the night.
Do we have a studio mic I can put on?
I'm probably spending the night, and I said I would expect nothing less out of you.
Oh my God!
And when I got done here, I was going to text you and say, "Hey, for locking purposes, let me know when you're coming home."
That's scared.
And I parked in your spot.
Scared the crap out of you.
That's scary. I thought it was over. By the way, I thought it was over because the door flew. I thought they were coming for me. I thought it was over. Yeah. Anybody. I mean, it's dark outside. The door flies open. Wasn't expecting it.
At least we died having an Eagle Super Bowl.
Yeah, we were reminiscing.
Yeah.
By the way, SJM says you stormed in like Tony Soprano. That's what SJM said. You stormed in like Tony Soprano.
That's what the Godfather does.
Yeah. No, we're worried about you. It's nice in here.
Yeah,
it's hot. I'm
It's
sweating.
Hot.
I don't know.
Speak up.
I'm
We're all
sweating.
talkers.
You see me? I'm freaking sweating. My balls off.
71 degrees. Keep it off. Let me help you guys out here. This is what I'm here
Do we not have live mics? Can we not say, "Hey, Ryan, we're a little
Ryan
warm."
was the one that turned it on.
Oh yeah, blame the kid. Blame the kid. No one can talk here. I just got to read minds. Oh, I see you sweating. Oh, I thought you like a little burn. I don't know.
Something you know about me, I will. It'll be.
I'm fat. I don't like sweating.
It'll be.
I thought we were trying to make
It'll be
like a
dead of
man-made
winter.
sauna.
It'll be dead of winter, and I will still be sweating. I'm one of those people. I sweat all the time.
He ate.
Yeah, he ate.
He ate.
Foolish Demon had a good comment. He said, "I saw the ball drop, got up, ran out my grandma's house to my house, pumped my fist, came back. My dad calls, and I said no words and just cried my eyes out."
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people like that, and it's just so special, and I think that's why I wouldn't change anything. I think a lot of the good memories too during the regular season. There were so many because like the Jake Elliott field goal was the first one of the season where I was just like, "Oh, this team is going to be good." Like it might have been early, and I get it. Like you can't say week 3, "Oh, this Eagles team is definitely going to be a contender." But to me, like I said before on this show, that was like we don't get those type of plays. We don't like in Eagles history. We don't nail a 62-yard field goal. It's the 63-yard Matt Bryant field goal that beat us in 2006. Like that never happens for us. But him nailing that, it was just like
you
amazing.
You go back and watch the reaction video from Tom and I.
was just gonna say, yeah.
That and Tom's saying the same thing. This never happens to us. This never happens.
Please,
to us.
one time.
Please, one time, let this happen to us. But I think that's a perfect example of a game that, yes, it was early, but that game goes a different way.
Before
Who knows how this season turns out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And that was they were coming back.
That was the thing about this team is they were a bend that but don't break. You know what I mean? They were a find a way to win a game team all year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you get a pessimistic guy like me, and you're like, oh, well, that's bad coaching. That's good players, bad coaching. You know what I mean? But then you obviously start to see that it wasn't entirely bad coaching. It was semi-bad coaching. No.
Just semi.
Just semi.
Just threw that in there.
But you start to realize that it was a culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what, this team and this season turned out to embody was, it was a culture in there. It was a family in there. And, that ultimately, was what pushed them over the top. Because you look at other teams, whether you're playing AAU ball, whether you're playing high school, whatever it is, it's the difference between a team made up of like a bunch of robots versus a team that's been together a couple years and they're all friends. They're all learning the game together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not that they have any business being on the field with Team A,
Mm-hmm.
but because they believe in each other, they're friends, they're playing for each other. It reminded that's what this Eagles team reminded you of.
Yeah.
It was maybe numbers for numbers. Obviously, we look back now, and yeah, our guys do rank up there. But during the year, you were like, what the hell is Joe Walker doing playing linebacker? You know what I mean? Like, is Michael Kendricks really having that good of a year?
Is Nelson Aguilar really good?
Is Nelson Aguilar really that good?
Yeah.
But it didn't matter that they didn't necessarily stack up numbers for numbers against
It was
the
a team
best in the
thing.
game because it was a team thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where one game Zach Ertz was going off, the next game Alshon went off.
That's what we were
Next
talking
game,
about.
Nelson went off,
Yep.
And then Brent Selleck has a big game, and Trey Burton has a big game, and that's tough. That's stuff that you can't measure by numbers.
Yep.
And that's just for playing for, that's for playing in, that's the heart, and that's for playing for the team on the front, and that's what made this team different than most of the other years.
Going back real quick to the, as far as Super Bowl reactions and stuff, and while Tom's in the studio, Tom, you'll attest to this as well because Tom and I were kind of texting back and forth during that game, and we were kind of trying to keep each other calm in a way because I remember, Tom, you and I had like a 2-hour phone call beforehand, and we were like, how are we feeling? What's the mindset before the Super Bowl? And we were trying to keep, and we were keep checking in with each other, and then right when they won, because it was constant communication during the game, and we were like, oh, I remember there was a part right when the Patriots went ahead. That was the first time we both were kind of like, oh my God, this might not be happening.
Yeah.
Because we were so confident. I mean, we were locking things down. There was like a 5-minute span. We were both like, well, damn.
This is the way it happens.
This is here we go again.
This is what The GOAT does.
And then, so we were just texting nonstop, and then as soon as they won, I don't think we had talked. Did we even? I don't think we talked again that night because I think we both. It was just like we both vanished into our own thing, and I think I think the first thing we said the next morning when we talked, we were like, "Did that really happen last night?" I think that's the first thing I said to him, and it's true. It's like the levels of emotion just during that game, and then you expand it to the levels of emotion during the playoffs and and then the regular season, and then people in the chat are saying, and we've said this before, like. I think the two main moments where you really thought this team was different, this year was different, was the Jake Elliott kick, because like you said, it's moments that really don't happen for us. It happened for us. And when I really thought, and I think we agree on this, that this team was special, was Thursday Night Football against the Panthers.
Yep.
Because, again, everyone in the national media did not have us doing anything. There was a complete sweep. Panthers win, Panthers win, Panthers win, Panthers win. And we won. And we kept winning. And we kept doing it. And we kept losing pieces, and it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to take it full circle, I wouldn't change a freaking thing.
Yeah.
Because it would change the outlook of the season. It would change the storybook ending of the season.
Yep.
And like I said, it would have been great to win it years ago when I was, 7, 8 years old. It would have been great to have 3 by this point, sure. But to be able to get our first and every week come in here and record our reactions, talk to the people, meet so many people because of this team, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
I really, really wouldn't. Now, my question is, going into next season, does now having one change your view of winning a Super Bowl? Like, does it – I'm not saying – like, we're going to celebrate every time we win, but does it change?
I think in a good way it does, where so – me going into a football season wanting and needing to win one was more of like a crap, like we need to win one, we don't have one. It's like it's kind of like a burden in a way. It's kind of like it's stress, and it's looking for that relief as a fan so that you're not the joke of the of the league anymore, and your friends who are fans of other teams, you're not the joke anymore. It's like stressful, but now It changes the mentality, because now I go from that mindset to we're the champs. We can do it. Like, I'm now more confident, and I have more faith going forward as an Eagles fan that this team has what it takes to win multiple and could win it any given year. You know what I mean? We're set up. I think we all agree. We are set up for at least the next few years to be able to be contenders. So I have faith and belief. Now, will it if and when we do win another one or 2 or 3, will they mean the same? No, they probably won't mean the same as this one, but they'll mean something in a different way. And that all depends on how we win, because we don't know the storylines. Every season has a different storyline. They have different storylines for each team. Depending on the storylines that come through when we do win it again, it'll mean something in that specific way. Because, who knows? Maybe we win one because we become the first, knock on wood, we become the first undefeated team to ever do it. Well, besides Miami. We do what the Patriots couldn't do. We not only beat the dynasty, kill them, but we do what they weren't able to do and go 19-0. Or is it? No, that's not right. 19-0. Sorry. 19-0. Who knows? So maybe that's the different storylines that come across, and that'll determine how I feel about each Super Bowl win. But yeah, my mindset changes, but not for the bad. It's not like I go into a season now knowing that we won one and I'm like, it's not that important. We have one. I'm good. No, it's like I want more as much as I did before, just in a different way.
It's not going to change anything to me, because I look in the studio. We got the banners for 2009. That Phillies team was set up to win multiple, and we only won one. So regardless of how you're set up, it's still a special thing when it happens. Mm. And 2008 and then 2009, 2010, really buried that into my thinking.
Okay,
that you have to keep everything separate, because as you said, each season has their storyline. Each season has their Jake Elliott kick. Each season has their Carolina Panthers game. It's just, which way is this season going to go? Mm-hmm. Is Jake going to miss that kick? Does does Luke Kuechly not get hurt? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does Cam not play an absolute terrible game? You know what I mean? Like next season, that might change.
Yeah.
You know, and so the 2008 through 2010 Phillies have ingrained in me that you can't take anything for granted, and that when they do come, you celebrate it like it's your first, and you party like it's your first, and we better have another one this year. Because that was a lot of fun last year. You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The redemption.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's how we know that. I mean, that's how curses end. But moving forward, it's going to be somebody else. It's going to be somebody else's storyline.
Yep.
Carson has a Super Bowl ring, but he didn't play in a Super Bowl, which is actually a great thing because now his motivation is high. Like Sproles, Peters, guys who been around the block.
Yep.
That got their ring, but never got a chance to play.
But did they really get their ring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So them guys to me are guys that are going to want to, be there again. And I just think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That there's going to be different things every year.
Yep.
Like you said about the Phillies, yeah, you're set up to win for years and years and years, and it didn't happen that way. But I think that you need to get the one to be able to start your dynasty, to know what it takes to win. And doing it the way we did it, listen, I think we win 5 out of the next 8.
Hope you're right, Daddy.
Holla.
Hope you're right.
In case you didn't hear that, 5 of the next 8 from The Godfather.
Yep. Real quick, I found out something.
Share.
For the first time, my dad commented on one of our shows.
Hello.
on Facebook.
Hello.
Yeah, he said he's chimed in on the poll question. He said Julio Jones is the best in his opinion. So,
Tom
thanks
loves
for
that
coming
one.
in, Dad.
Tough to be wrong.
Yeah.
It's like splitting hairs at the end.
It is
with
very,
those
it's
four.
very split hairs. Yeah.
The only thing that changes for me as far as the dynamic, well, number one, the only thing better than winning a Super Bowl is winning a second one, and a third one, and a fourth one. The only thing that changes for me as far as the outlook of winning another one, and going into the season, well, number one, it's never going to get old. Like, I'm going to celebrate the same way, probably.
God
that
knows
I did
I
this
will.
way.
Like,
Yeah, no, we
I
know
will
you
be.
will. Yeah, we know you will. But, like, the only thing different is that I can say, oh, the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. And I don't have to, like, wait for, like, the backlash. I don't have to, in a way, feel ashamed of it. And I never felt ashamed of it of saying before. But, like, there was always an element of, like, oh, they're probably going to figure out a way not to win.
Yeah, exactly.
So now it's like you, in a way, expect it. Like you said, this team is set up for years and years to come. It's not a 1 year wonder in a way. It was, this team with the quarterback, with the coach, with the core they have, with guys being signed, for the next few years, all the returning pieces. This team is set up for multiple. So you expect that. So for me, the only dynamic changes is that if they don't win multiple, I'm more disappointed than I would be in past years because I don't expect it as much as I do now.
Interesting. Interesting.
So the
I wouldn't
disappointment's
say
bigger.
I wouldn't. For me, I wouldn't say the disappointment's bigger, but I understand where you're coming from.
No.
That's what she said.
But that's a good point. I mean, all in all, I think we all just we hope and we believe for multiple in the future, and I think that when we really won't know 100% how each of us is going to feel and react until it actually happens.
No.
Because like I said, and like he said, each year's dynamic is different, and there might be something that pulls at our heartstrings just as much next year or the year after as it did this year. So we'll see, and I think the Eagles are in a good spot to do it.
The one thing to expect, Jordan Hicks will be hurt.
Maybe multiple times.
That will not pull at my heartstrings because I know it's happening.
Expect it. Don't be surprised by it.
Yeah.
The one other thing I'll say really quick is that, for years, and even before, this season, I looked at this Patriots team and the dynasty they were, and I always thought to myself, all right, we know the Giants did it, but like it's not like they ended the dynasty. And I always thought, like, who's going to be the team that really puts a nail in them? Like, who's the one that's finally going to do it? Because, you know, it's been since 2011 that they've been beaten. So it's not like the Giants did it 2 years ago. I mean, it's been a little bit. And then they came across, you know, obviously the Seahawks. You expected the Seahawks were right there in the red zone on the goal line. They were ready to end it. They
And
didn't.
Let's pass the ball.
Stupid pass play.
The Falcons had that lead, and we know what happened. Hashtag never forget. They didn't win. And then I look, and I go back to the first time the Patriots and the Eagles faced each other in the Super Bowl. And I remember for years thinking that would have been so cool if we would have been able to beat the evil empire. And that was at the very beginning of their dynasty run.
None
It
of
was
us
at the very
knew what
beginning.
was in store.
No.
Oh my God, for the next decade and a half.
And all this past season, I kept thinking, okay, who's going to do it? Because we all assumed, because this was the 16-0 year. People were like, oh, the Patriots are going to go undefeated. This is the best Patriots team of all time. So we all kind of assumed the Patriots would be there, or they would have a chance to be in the Super Bowl and probably win. And then when it's all said and done, the answer to the question we were all searching for since 2011 on who's going to beat the Patriots, it's been us.
Yeah.
It was us all along. We didn't have to go out west to look at Seattle. We didn't have to go to Green Bay or Atlanta or the Panthers or the Giants again or the friggin' Dallas Cowboys.
God.
You know what I mean?
God,
it was
thanks.
always us. And I think that's very, very cool for redemption from the first time. And the fact that this young quarterback, this guy coming out of Wisconsin, or I'm sorry, North Dakota.
Wisconsin, not close to each other.
Yeah, no. Listen, it's late. It's late. I'm reminiscing. I can make a couple botches. You know, I can go and I can look at him and I could say he led this squad throughout the entire season. And then a guy that was pretty much forgotten about, Nick Foles, who people thought, oh, he's just going to retire. He went to St. Louis. He's not going to be anything. He came back to Kansas City. He was not going to be anything. Those two guys, along with a coach we put out this morning, he was ranked the worst hire of the year. I'm sure you love that, Greg.
It was true.
Well, no.
Thank,
Hashtag false.
thank God for puberty.
Yeah. Yeah. This young squad, this team that no one expected to be anything, was the team to end it.
I mean, that's why you did it for Transformation Tuesday. I mean,
that's
there
why.
was a transformation that he made.
Yes.
And
There was.
It was very
I will
evident
give it.
because
There was.
he wasn't a very good coach in 2016.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't.
But
I will say that.
it was different, and that's
And
played into the post.
And to be fair to you, Greg, I was going into the 2017 season. Doug Pederson was my biggest question mark. So it's not like I'm gonna rip you a new one, and you too. Like he was. I looked at this team, and as much as we questioned here and there, the biggest question mark was Doug Pederson. And I think it's just so it's fair to have been critical going into 2017. I think it's just nice to know that he was able to do what a lot of people didn't expect.
Sure.
And do what Andy Reid never could do. Do what Chip Kelly was too stubborn to do. And Doug Pederson, as a play caller, he grew. He learned from his mistakes, and he adapted, which is big because, Ryan, you've heard me say all the time, Chip Kelly, I think, is a great football mind, but his ego and his stubbornness gets in his way.
Agreed.
It totally does.
And to me, I'm the exact opposite. Nothing to credit, nothing Doug did on the field is what I what I appreciate the most. It's what he did in the locker room.
In the locker room.
It was, because you're right. No, you're absolutely right. He grew as a play caller. He grew in every aspect, obviously. I mean, you don't win a Super Bowl if you don't. But it was that family, as we talked about before, it was that next man up, that family bond, that everybody wants to play for each other. That's what I take most out of his transformation as opposed to the actual X's and O's.
He was a true
Because good players mask a mediocre coach.
Yeah, he was a true leader of men.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very valid point. The way he helped lead that locker room and set that culture, and pretty much put Chip Kelly's quote into practice of culture beats scheme any day, he did it. He actually took that quote and he actually made an example
Yeah,
of it.
no,
So,
you're absolutely right.
so, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
Greg.
man.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
It was like I said, it was nice to have someone else on the couch for the second half, and then Mr. Bossman Tom coming in for a
By
quick.
the way, real fast, does anybody know what Fletcher Cox's ranking was on Madden? I saw Aaron Donald was one of the 399s.
I didn't see
No.
it.
And so if Aaron Donald's a 99, and I like Aaron Donald, but where's Fletcher at?
Fletcher should be high 90s.
You know what I mean?
In my opinion, he should be
98?
Just my
98?
thought.
Yeah.
Real fast, right before we
Oh yeah,
get
we
out.
didn't talk about the man rating. So real
The-
quick,
the-
just
Yeah.
real quick,
The 399s.
Wentz should be high 88 or low 90s.
Why is he ranked below Andrew Luck?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Andrew
that doesn't
Luck.
make sense.
Real quick, I know we got to go in a minute, but did you hear the story about Andrew Luck?
Yeah, he threw a high school football.
No,
Wonderful.
After that he has coming out of Colts camp, he has quote a mind block when throwing the football. He forgot how to
This
throw a
is sad.
football.
This
If
is
that's
sad.
the case, he's done. Like
This is
he's
sad.
done.
This is sad.
Good thing we got
Yeah.
video games.
Yeah,
Like this is like Markel Fultz, but with the NFL.
this
Yeah.
is a lot worse. And as far as Aaron Rodgers is, to me, he deserves to be 99. People disagree with his 99 rating. I don't, because to me, he's the best quarterback in the league, and when he's healthy, there's none to me right now. There's none better. So
I'm all right.
I have
I'm
no
all right
problem
with
with
the
99.
99 because the GOAT's at 97.
Yeah.
So just because he's a little younger, I'll give him the 99.
Yeah.
But I needed to see where the GOAT was underneath him to see how far it was.
Yeah.
And he's at 97. I'm good with that.
Yeah, good with it. Yeah, exactly.
41-year-old,
Exactly.
97. I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
People
He's doing pretty good.
people were saying like he shouldn't be 99 because he barely played last year. Well, then lower his injury rating. Well, because when he's healthy, he's clearly still
Yeah.
the best quarterback in the league. So I think if he's healthy, you have to give him a 99. So that's just my 2 cents.
Get out of here.
I will be getting Madden opening night at midnight again this year, even though T.O. is on the cover. What the hell are you doing, Madden? EA Sports. God damn it. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in this week. At the beginning, it was a very lonely episode, but we got a friend that came in the clutch. Hopefully, my other co-hosts and guests will be back. We will talk about tight ends. The tight end rankings.
Yeah, we will.
Tight ends.
Fletcher Cox 92, by the way.
Ooh, that's a little low.
Ooh, that's low. Graham 92. Wow. Anyway, thank you again. Thanks to all our sponsors, Stream Smart, from BMW of Atlantic City Studios, BMWAtlanticCity.com. Thanks to Scanzano Sports for our poll question. Guys, we will see you next week on Birds of a Feather, same time, same place.
See you tomorrow night.
Have a good night.